All right. Well, Peter gets to see how the sausage is made.
Halfway through the episode, Peter just gets up and walks out.
He just
That's
leaves.
the last we ever see of him. He's like, this is stupid.
I
Oh,
hope I didn't suck too bad.
no.
There's the opening for the episode right there. Thank you for having me. I hope I didn't suck too bad.
Really enjoyed this. This was fun. Can't wait to do it again.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 126 of the Plastic Posse podcast. We took a little bit of a break, but I think it was worth it. We're coming back recharged and re-energized, not only from that break from recording, but for this little event we went to in the Netherlands. We've been heard it called a figure show in Belgium, but believe me, it is not. It is the premier scale model show and miniature show in the world. So Scale Model Challenge was held over last weekend, which was Friday the 17th. It kind of informally kicked off, and then the show was really in its heyday on the 18th and 19th. The group was awesome that we went with, and we met countless friends. And throughout this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what we did to prepare for the show, the prelude to the show in London, and then once we got on the mainland and the actual show itself. You'll hear some funny stories about Scott learning what it's like to travel around Europe, from iced teas to TSA pre-check. You will be entertained by all of the stories this man who's never gone abroad before experienced. So very excited to jump into it. We met a lot of people, as I mentioned, but what was great was we created our own little band of brothers, and we have a few of those folks there that joined us there online with us today. So I'll go around the room and introduce everybody and kick it off to each one of them to say hello. So first, I'm going to go to our special guest. One of them you've heard from before. Jackson, how are you today?
I'm good. How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Very much looking forward to getting into the trip. A person that is, don't let his subtleness alarm you, but he's a stone cold killer. Coming from Hungary, Peter Fidloczky, our artist of all of our group builds, this man, the myth, the legend. Peter, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
For our listeners,
Thanks for having me.
for our listeners, that means he's ecstatic. We'll run a translation service, but Peter's deadpan means he's a 12 out of 10, and we like it that way. So
he's our own personal czar of the podcast.
Yes, he is the calm in the storm that is our group. He's the bedrock to it all in terms of calm demeanor. But with that, I'm going to go over to the United Kingdom. He is in his eggplant snuggie, looking snuggleful, if that's a word. Jensen, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm still kind of recovering from the trip. I'm still very tired, but it's a trip I won't forget. It was amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll jump into it. We're going to just continue over the pond. TJ, how are you today?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain, man. Excited.
Hell yeah. Grant, what's up in California?
Not much, just like Jensen, just trying to stay awake and enjoy what's left of it.
And then last up, the father of the group, the man that's never been abroad before, who's learned so much and now is a world traveler, checked off 5 countries on his list. It was a trains, planes, and automobiles type of adventure for him. And Mr. Kindiggett himself from Utah. How you doing, Scott?
Really just terrific. I mean, trip of a lifetime for sure. We had a lot of laughs. We had an unbelievable group, and Europe was tremendous, better than I could have hoped for. And, we'll get into that. But SMC, I know people have heard you guys talk about it for, a couple years now and everything. But, after going and seeing it, I mean, you guys did a pretty poor job of selling it, if I must say so. You guys really need to step up your marketing games, and Robert and I talked about that. So you guys need to do some work. But no, seriously, just an unbelievable event with amazing people, and like I said, we'll get into it. But awesome.
Outstanding. So, listeners, before we get too into it, we got to talk about an inside story. Scott going abroad, first dinner in London. The man is overwhelmed with emotion and culture shock, and we sit down, and this is a benign story.
At Fallow, no less.
At Fallow, no less.
A ridiculously nice restaurant, very trendy, upscale, hip.
Yes,
very, very London.
And he's rocking a Kindigit t-shirt and his, Levi Strauss. Spared no expense over there, Scott Gentry. And we sit down and, everybody's getting, a bespoke cocktail, some sort of awesome British ale or cider. And then we get to Scott, and the fine gentleman in the, the suit is taking everyone's order. And he's like, "What would you like, sir?" And he's like, "I'll have an iced tea." And sir's like, "Well, we don't have that." And you thought that Scott, someone had, kicked his shin or something. He was just totally beside himself. And the gentleman, it was hilarious because he goes, "Well, I could make you tea and put ice in it, but I don't think you'd enjoy that." So he learned very quickly what it's like to be in Europe.
I do want to say that's kind of how it was in the UK. I did have iced tea on the mainland, but I mean, no, it was really, really great. I figured the country is known for tea. It shouldn't be a big deal. I learned my lesson. So we went with a Diet Coke, and they only have one size of those in Europe, which is kindergarten size. So we went with one of those instead, but yeah, no, it was great. It was great. And the food everywhere was incredible. And Fallow was certainly no exception. Really unbelievable meal. And as much for the food as it's one of these restaurants where it takes you kind of hours to go through it, right? And, the memories that we made around a table, this big group of people from different places, it was really tremendous.
Yeah. For our listeners, we crammed 10 of us around a 8-person table. I should say an 8-person British table, not an 8-person American sized table. So we were bumping kneecaps, but it was a lot of fun. We had everything from like fried corn fritters and awesome desserts to a literal pig head on our table. So that was a lot of fun and kind of kicked off the trip. I'll just start by kind of going over what we did for our listeners, just in case you're curious if you want to create your own trip abroad. And then I'd ask the folks on in the co-host seats just to chime in wherever you think is appropriate, because it was an awesome trip. And we had a few days in London, in England for that matter, beforehand. Scott, like we talked about, had never been there. Mikkel had never been there. And some of the museums that we went to, about half our group had never been to. So it was an awesome trip. And the first day started with basically a half marathon of walking around Duxford Aerodrome. And maybe I'll turn it over to you, Scott, and feel free, TJ, to chip in as well. Like as someone that's and I'll speak for you, Scott. Like you certainly look forward to Bovington, but I think Duxford was a little bit just an unknown, and you were leaning into it to go, but you didn't really understand what to expect, and maybe talk about what that day was like.
Yeah, absolutely. Even before that, just really quick, when we first got there, we got to go to the Churchill War Rooms.
Oh, yeah.
And, Big Ben and a few things, and just kind of get a feel for London. And John had set us up a Verbo, like in the perfect location, close to the tube, and so getting around London was really great. They have a mass transit system like I've never seen before. It was really, really awesome. But yeah, Duxford was incredible. We walked up to the gate, and one of the things in the parking lot before we even get to the doors is a Comet tank, which I've never seen before, and that was really tremendous. Incredible museum. I mean, it really has a feel like it was like you're coming into Duxford in World War II. A lot of grass. The aircraft take off and taxi across the grass, not just the runways, and there's Spitfires and Tiger Moths and everything kind of flying around, and And obviously, the museum itself was a really impressive collection of aircraft. I'd only ever seen one or two Spitfires in my life. And after you go to Duxford, now I've seen like literally dozens. So really just incredible. And everything there was top notch. The displays are really beautiful. They take a lot of pride in what they do. Yeah, it was just, it was a day. I think we clocked in at a little over 11 miles of walking in addition to tube trains and other things. But yeah, what a day. Unbelievable.
Yeah. How was the flight and the repeat for you? I feel like the video captured your raw emotions.
Yeah, and that was incredible. Really classy airplane, the Dragon Rapide. One of our travelers that came with us, Josh Buck, was a gentleman and popped for everybody to get a ride on that. And that was incredible. Really nice little airplane. Really has a feel of the era, 1920s, 1930s. Just a really, really awesome aircraft. And then to fly around Duxford in that area and see the estates and the farms and everything and, watch a Spitfire taxiing and taking off as you're circling around the museum. It was just really, really an amazing, amazing day.
Yeah, and for our listeners, for an aircraft museum, what was your favorite piece at the museum, Scott?
Oh, the Crusader tank. I mean, come on. Yeah, the Crusader was amazing. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I'd never seen one. I'm TJ, I think, is there with me, but I love cruiser tanks in general, but especially the Crusader and, getting to see one. The Comet I already mentioned. So, yeah, I went to the Air Museum and got all excited about a couple pieces of armor, but their collection is just amazing. Seeing they had a Blenheim, they had, everything, all the stuff you would expect. Hurricanes, a Lancaster, just first class. And, the tower is still very much as it was. And, people they take the Syria. This was kind of a theme we saw throughout Europe, but history is treated with reverence everywhere you go. It's, not at all disposable, which is something I think we're kind of guilty over here on this side of the pond. Everything's new and shiny. But yeah, it was awesome.
Core memory from that day is Scott literally limbering up as soon as we got off the train to get ready to walk to Duxford. Like he's limbering up like we're getting ready to run like a charity fun run. He's like he's ready to go.
Yeah, Scott brought his walking shoes, and for our listeners, we did 11 miles that day, and I think we probably averaged about 10 a day, which was good. But Scott had been prepping, I think, for a year in advance.
Yeah, lots of walking, which was great. Yeah, we did. What did I tell you, John? I think 34 miles in 3.5 days in London. So we were walking, but it was great.
That's how you see everything.
Yeah, tight cabs aside, you stretch out. You're at Duxford. You don't have time for an off day, TJ. You got to stretch. You got to be ready to go. And I was ready, man.
For sure. So maybe for that museum, I'll go around the room for those that went. What was your favorite piece of the collection? And I'll start with you, Jensen.
So for Duxford, for me, the last time we went, the Lancaster wasn't there. So, and the fact that for 10 quid, we could go inside it and see a presentation and get really up close and personal with it and learn the story of it. Yeah, absolutely. The Lancaster had to be the choice for me.
Yeah, that was pretty badass. TJ, how about yourself?
Yeah, man. It's kind of hard. I want to say the Lanc because that was awesome. But in the same hangar that had the quote unquote Memphis Belle. It's not actually. I don't think that's the actual one, but the one painted as Memphis Belle. When you walk through there's I think those are all privately owned airplanes. There was a Natural Battle P-40.
Oh yeah,
I think that was a C.
Early
I can't
model.
remember.
Yeah,
it was an early one, and it was awesome. Look, I took a couple pictures of that. That thing was cool.
Yeah, for sure. And that Memphis Belle, the aircraft itself is called Sally B, but it served as the Memphis Belle of the movie. So I think that's why they retain that nose art. And then I'll go to Jackson. He's probably going to say some stupid double-decker bus, but yeah,
No,
Jackson.
No, I can't say it. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I called it. So
I mean, there's a lot of really good pieces there. I always liked the Crash 109. That's just a cool piece. But I was very thankful to be able to take a bunch of pictures of that bus, considering I lost all the last set I took.
Jeez, oh man, you had your the countryman Jensen break protocol and
I did.
and
Yeah.
get those pictures. So yeah, I think for my piece, I'll probably say the Gannett just because I know how much Jensen loves it. He I know pictures are deceiving, but he puts on a false front. It's actually on the poster above his bed. So right, Jensen, you love it.
It's true. It's the most beautiful, pregnant, guppy-looking aircraft I've ever seen.
That short Sunderland flying boat was impressive.
Oh yeah.
That was impressive. I mean, really, really nicely restored, but just massive, really just took up the whole hangar kind of a way.
Yeah, don't forget, Scott, you saw TSR-2.
Yes, very cool.
Big aircraft. So Duxford was a great day. After we finished there, we made our trip back to London. And for listeners, if you've never been to Duxford, it's an incredibly easy trip out of London. You essentially go up to I think we got out of King's Cross or maybe it was London Liverpool station. We took a train up to Whittlesford Parkway and we got off there and we walked to Duxford, and then it's about an hour and a half train ride. It's really nice through the countryside. So extremely easy to get to. It's about $40 round trip. So very, very simple. And then when we got back, what was cool is John Everett extended his 3-week London vacation and joined us as well for a few days. And we had a awesome classic British pub meal that night, which was a lot of fun. The next day we went down to Bovington. And for our listeners, this is another one. You can do it in a day. It's a long day because it's about twice the distance away from London as Duxford, but it is super fun. Took a train out of Waterloo and we went down to Wool, or as our ticket collector on the train was like, "Woo, what's woo?" It's like, bro, I don't know. The ticket is your ticket. Like, you should know this. Jensen, fix him. So, but no, it was great. Bovington is definitely a different type of museum for our listeners that have never been to both. Scott kind of described Duxford. It's very active. There's planes flying. It's on an airdrome. It's big. There's things to see everywhere. Like, and Bovington is much different as a museum. Obviously, Armour is more compact, but Bovington was special in its own right. And I have some videos of Scott I'll post eventually. But like, Scott, maybe just talk about the raw emotion you had walking around that room, seeing those things for the first time.
Yeah, Bovington was incredible. I mean, I had very high expectations, I've seen tons of videos online and what's there, but when you actually see it, it's pretty incredible. Really, it's a operational base for the British military. So there were, troops all around and they're, doing what they're doing and everything. But the collection, I mean, right when you walk up, there's the Churchill, 3-inch gun carrier, what's left of it, I should say, and Crusader turrets and other things just kind of laying around. And then as soon as you walk in the doors and get your ticket and start to go through there, I mean, multiple British World War I Mark tanks, really incredible, probably the best World War I collection on the planet. You see that. And then when you see a Jagd Tiger or a King Tiger or the Tiger One or some of these things, when you see them in person for the first time, it's really tremendous. And John kept, he'd get a picture of me, Scott, look here, and I'd just start to look, and then look over here, and you're just it's really almost kind of overwhelming. But if you love Armour, you've got to go to Bovington. It's incredible. It exceeded every expectation I have, as high as they were. It was awesome. My only regret is we didn't have a couple of days to spend. We just had the one day. But really, if you love Armour, they're going to have something that's just going to blow your mind, whether it's Tog, or the Tortoise, or obviously Tiger 131. But anyway, incredible. Just really first class facility. And you really feel like, because nothing's behind ropes, you can really get around and really kind of feel it and smell it and touch it. Other than that time they yelled at Jensen to get off the tanks. I mean, they're pretty cool to work with. So
yeah, it was an awesome museum. And I think what was cool is when we were walking up, all the training vehicles driving past us, they had a bunch of Challenger training vehicles. TJ, this was your first time as well. Maybe talk a little bit about how you experienced the museum and what you loved about it.
Yeah, it was as good as everyone says it is. It's as good as I thought it was going to be, watching the Tank Museum videos on YouTube like I have for years. So it was pretty cool to get to see some of the vehicles that they've talked about on the YouTube page. And yeah, it was awesome. And I mean, I got to see Michael, which is the oldest existing Sherman tanks, M4A1. That was awesome too. just to see that is cool. It's like a literal piece of history. And it's awesome that the British saved it all these years. They did that intentionally, knowing that it was important for the relationship between our two countries. So that was really cool. And all the other stuff was really cool. I mean, seeing the Tog too, that big goofy thing, that was like they have it kind of hidden like behind a food court kind of area. I'm like, that's kind of random, but okay. Yeah, I thought it was great. I absolutely loved it. The conservation building or whatever you want to call it, that was, I don't want to say it was my favorite part, but seeing that was awesome because they are stacked in there end to end, like in this huge building. It's like the warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones where they're putting the ark. It's awesome. And like, man, I would kill to go down there and walk around some of these because there's some 100% unique, nowhere else in the world items just hanging out back there. Kind of far away from everyone, but you can kind of see it and you're like, oh, I think that's it over there, sort of thing. But yeah, really, really cool. I enjoyed that. That was totally freaking sweet.
Yeah, and the cafe ain't too bad there either. So I know Jensen and Jackson has gone there a couple times, but maybe I'll turn it over to you, Jackson. Was there anything different this time that stuck out to you, and maybe what did you love most about the museum?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Michael the first time I went, but when I was there for Telford with you guys in 2022, it was under construction, that whole area. So seeing what they've done with that section, the kind of like tanks in movies and TV shows and video games and stuff, that was super cool. The one new thing that stood out to me was the FE 4005, the big turreted, I mean, it's not a Centurion hull. And that's the one that they just restored through like, fundraising and whatnot or wargaming. I can't remember how they did it. But seeing that, I saw it as like a gate guard driving past it, but seeing it up close in person, it's huge. And it was very cool, something unique to see. But honestly, like my favorite part of going this time was, so like the main group went into the museum and I stuck behind to use the bathroom and TJ did as well. So I ended up going into like the World War One hall with him at the same time. And seeing TJ like light up like a kid in the candy shop, just like grinning ear to ear, was just such a good feeling. Like everyone always jokes about him being like my modeling dad, but I felt like a proud dad in that moment, like looking at my kid climbing through the Mark 9, like smiling ear to ear. So that was a good memory for me.
TJ does get emotional sometimes. It's just
He
with World War
does.
One vehicles.
Can confirm the World War One collection is fantastic. That was super super cool. And then of course in the back where like Tiger 131 and is and all that stuff, that's where Little Willie is, and that's where I can't remember if there's a whippet in the first section. There might be, but in the big main hall, that's where the like the whippet that like saw action, which was really cool. I think one of the crew members, I don't know if he got the Victoria Cross from action in that vehicle. I think he did. I'm not 100%. I don't remember. But yeah, just seeing that, I mean, like seeing actual battle used World War One armor is like there's nothing else like it. It's pretty special.
Yeah, everywhere we turned in that museum, it was crazy. And maybe Jensen, round us off here with your favorite piece.
It's so hard to pick one at Bovington because every time you go into a new room, it's like, oh my god, that's for every year I get pulled to it. The two times I've been there, my eyes have like gone to this the most. It's the M4A176. It's just beautiful. Like a lot of people might think, oh, just a Sherman in the museum, but it's just the most beautiful M4 ever made. So yeah, I really like that one. It's like opposite the crab, which is really cool, and behind the crab's the LVT. So it's just like, okay, that's quite a cool little area. Yeah, it's got to be that one. But part of me also wants to say, is it the Finnish Stug that I redid my old photo in front of for before and after? So kind of that vehicle's kind of got a special place in my heart just because it's like, hey, I was blocking half the tank last time I was here.
Yeah, we can actually see the Stug now. It's great. No, that is a sweet piece as well, because I think that's some of the original Finnish kind of colored green as well. So, yeah, for our listeners, if you've never been, obviously Bovington is top notch. For ease, it's like I said, it's a solid day trip because it's about a 2.5-3 hour train ride down. It'll run you about $80 round trip. And then once you get to the station, you can either walk to the museum, which is about 20-30 minutes. Just don't just don't take a right when you should go left. If you go right, that's where the monkey world is. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And as TJ mentioned, there was another moment of Scott. We get out of the train at Bovington in the morning after that long day at Duxford, and he finds that bike rail and it just starts stretching. And fortunately, Matt Tupman and Ryan Lewington, they joined us as well, which was really cool. A couple listeners, so shout out to them for joining us for the day. They had a vehicle there, and we're basically like, Scott, get in the car. So
yeah, that ride didn't suck. That was okay. I didn't mind it at all. And then I had a few minutes to check out the 3-inch gun carrier and a couple things we waited for you. Also, that TJ was talking about the World War I section. That independent A1E was amazing. I mean, I had no idea one of those was kind of maintained. And I got to mention the Jagd Panther. Not crazy about the paint job, but it's just such a beautiful tank destroyer. Just that one's one that'll stick with me. And anytime you can see, like TJ said, a Whippet or a FT-17, it's a good day. And TJ, how many of those British land ships did they have? Mark 1s, Mark 4s, I mean, I didn't realize they had so many. Yeah,
I had a few. I think they also had the Mark II there, Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. The one that was I don't know if it was accidentally, but also was put into action, even though it was never designed to do that. It wasn't armored. It just was made out of mild steel. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot to be seen there. So after Bovington, we went back to London, obviously. And then the next day, we just kind of bummed around London. We hit Westminster Abbey in the morning. Scott saw the oldest door in England. Scott, when was that from?
If I remember right, it was hung in 1050. And I'm sitting there staring at this door, and it's it was hung 400 or 500 years before the Vikings accidentally discovered our continent. It's oh yeah, this door's been here. It's I mean, wow. Thought it was amazing. I was wearing my Plastic Posse podcast shirt in Westminster Abbey, and I had one of the priests come up and ask me about it. So we were talking models with one of the priests in Westminster Abbey. That was kind of fun. And seeing the stones that over the centuries have been walked on so many times. They have big rounded out spaces. They've been walked on for so long, but seeing the graves of
Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin, which is kind of ironic, and all these queens and kings, and really incredible. I love architecture, and obviously just a stunning church, and such an important church for England. So yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, I also love that we had our own priest with us, Priest Taylor. The way this man was dressed.
I was going to mention it as well. I was I happened to be dressed as a member of the clergy at the time.
I was going to say, you about held mass in there, for crying out loud, at the RAF chapel.
Yeah, I've looked at the pictures. It's oh yeah, I do look like I work here. That's not good.
No, you look great, man. I mean, especially for our listeners, I'll say aloud that Jensen does look good now. Jensen's always looked good, let's be honest, but he's looking trim, fit, and ready to hit the market. So if you're interested, hit him up. But Scott and I are walking out of listeners, we Jensen's looking his fine self, and Scott and I are walking out of the Abbey. I think it was after we saw the oldest door in the world. We round the corner, and he's just sitting there on the stone pew like we're at Hogwarts, and he's just posing to himself. No one's there. You're just posing. And we're just what in the hell is he doing? So obviously I took pictures, and then he wanted me to take more once he realized it.
I've turned into Jackson.
Yes, exactly. And with my new phone, apparently I'm Mr. Photographer for the trip. So no, it was a great time. After that, we ran over to Borough Market, and that was fun. That's where Scott, I've never seen him so aggravated his entire life. I think he walked up to me and said, "John, I'm about to elbow somebody in there," because his personal space was violated.
And the key word there is violated. No, we got there, unfortunately, right as the entire sector of London down by the Thames decided they wanted to go down and have a sandwich at the market. It was pretty incredible from a guy from the Western U.S. and an area where we have a lot of personal space. We're kind of laid back. Yeah, it became sort of like a fish in a barrel kind of thing. So it was crazy, but the food was unbelievable. We went to a little food vendor called the Black Pig, and I had a sandwich that was recommended called the best one, and they weren't lying. It was amazing. Really good food.
And the strawberries.
Yeah.
So They were good. So that was a fun touristy thing we did. And then after that, we kind of decided, let's hit up HMS Belfast. And that, I will say, was an underrated, pretty cool experience as a ship. And maybe Jackson, you can talk about, maybe I'll just turn it over to you to kind of give an overview of what that was like, and we can all chime in. But I think you enjoyed it the most. You're kind of a ship guy, so.
I guess so. Yeah, no, that was something that like I've wanted to do for a couple years now and just never done because it's kind of like just right there. So you kind of almost look past it because it's just so prominent in like the London skyline. But no, it was really well done. I particularly loved they did a lot with like sounds and stuff too, right? So like when you were walking through the galleys, you could hear like pots and pans, clattering and like people talking and stuff like that. So like they really put in a lot of effort to make it feel somewhat like a lived-in ship versus I know a lot of museum ships here in the US don't really do that sort of thing. It is quite literally a museum ship. One of the best examples of that I loved was in one of the aft turrets. It's like one of the first things I think we went in, and you go into like this turret, and basically they have a re-recorded person quoting like a soldier fought. I want to say, was it Normandy?
Yeah, it was a shelling of D-Day, yeah.
Yeah, and he talks through the steps of loading the gun and everything, and then it slowly transitions to like actually hearing the crew loading and yelling out their orders and stuff, and then firing, and even like the floor underneath you shakes every time the gun fires, and it was like one of those moments similar to like Duxford with their war room, like war planning room, where you just kind of feel the ghosts of the past. And I think any museum that can make you feel that, where you feel like you're in the room with people that actually fought in that thing, is like, that's a job well done. So that moment really stuck out to me. And then getting to take that awesome picture on the forecastle was pretty great.
Yeah, it's a sweet ship. Scott?
Yeah, I'd agree with Jackson. I've been on board quite a few ships over here in the U.S., and Belfast is my favorite that I've ever been on. It was, I believe, a light cruiser, but it served, I think, clear into the 1970s. She was moored up against a Brazilian training frigate called the Brazil, appropriately enough, which I thought was really cool. It was pretty spacious, and the design was really cool. Like Jackson said, the displays were really well, and the ship is lovingly maintained. Just really enjoyed it. It was a heck of a thing to do right there in the Thames, and the Tower Bridge is kind of looking down on you. You can see the Tower of London. Yeah, I thought it was really, really great. One of the highlights of the trip for me, for sure.
Yeah, and then after that, we hopped on a boat, which I think Scott really enjoyed by sheer happenstance. We took a water taxi down to dinner at Battersea Park. And I don't know, I thought that cheap Thames ride on a taxi boat was pretty freaking cool. So
yeah, it was awesome. Go by Parliament and the Tower of London, and you could see it all from the boat really well. And it was nice to ride there in the Thames. And then Battersea is like a high-end condo and apartment community and business park now, but it used to be a big power plant. It's on the cover of the Pink Floyd Animals album. And so immediately, as a Pink Floyd guy, you like see that building and go, oh, wow, check that out. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. And then we had an awesome Indian dinner at Dishoom, which was fun. It was a family style meal, so highly recommended, listeners, if you're in London and want Indian food, Dishoom. There are multiple locations throughout the city. And then the next morning we woke up pretty early and we took the Eurostar to Brussels. And we got there. I think, every moment of the trip, Scott was on a new high. And I think one of his ultimate highs, I think, was riding the Eurostar.
Yeah, I was excited when we were planning it. Real, I'm a kind of a train guy, but this thing is like as smooth as an airplane. I think we were going like 200 miles an hour. I mean, we started leaving the station. I had my phone with the map app open, and that little blue circle was struggling to keep up with us. But really cool, really not a very long trip. I think 2 hours or less from London to Brussels, and really just incredible. And you go under the channel. That was great. Really, really nice. Very comfortable, very quiet. Really, really classy. If you get a chance to ride the Eurostar, I'd recommend it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and once we got to Brussels, we fought the not-so-great traffic over to the Royal Military Museum, which, I'll be honest, really surprised me. and I don't think we did it justice. We were only there about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We were fortunate enough to meet Bart there from the show committee, and he was cool enough to bring over our entry packets, which helped out a lot on check-in. But what was amazing was just the sheer number of World War One items there. I had never seen anything like it, and I know something that we looked forward to before getting there, and I think Jackson perked up knowing that we were going, was they had 3 armored vehicles, or 3 tanks, I should say. They had an FT, a Whippet, and Mark. I'll turn it over to Jackson to tell what Mark it is. But maybe, Jackson, talk about those 2 vehicles. And TJ, feel free to chime in, too, because I know you're a World War One guy.
Yeah, they've got a Mark IV and a Whippet. They have the FT as well, but I think that's been repainted. But the Mark IV and the Whippet are in original colors from World War One, and I don't think there's anything else in the world that's quite like that. And then TJ, I know you've got a special connection to the Whippet that's there.
Oh yeah, this Firefly. Yeah, that would seeing the Whippet and the Mark IV is cool because, like Jackson said, that I believe those are the only 2 in existence that are still in original surface drab or whatever that color was. It was just a hideous color. Yeah, seeing those was pretty sweet. Honestly, my favorite part of that museum was the armor. That not the tanks, but like the
Knights Hall, yeah,
like the suits of armor. Because they kind of take you through the whole history of personal armor in the medieval period. And of course, Belgium's a perfect place to do it because there's like been literally hundreds of wars fought there over the last 2,000 years. I mean, it's like, nicknamed the battlefield of Europe because that's where that all happened. And seeing like all of the different armor, and it's all beautiful. They spent a lot of money in this area, and you can tell because it is fantastic. Just all this arms and armor. It's so freaking cool. And my favorite part is, I mentioned it to like everyone that I talked to when we were there, is they have mannequins wearing like knight's armor, and they're holding firearms. And to me, that is just so cool because I'm definitely not an expert, but I enjoy like that type of military history, the medieval and the armor and arms and stuff. And I watch a lot of videos. I read a lot of stuff on the internet about it. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that the prevailing, pop culture idea is that firearms killed off armored knights. But in reality, the knight class was the first people to adopt firearms and use them in warfare because they were expensive, and knights typically had money. They were lesser nobility, so they could afford these sort of things, and they would be the ones that would use them, right? They're trying to just kill other knights, so why they would be the ones that would use it. And that's just the thing, you never see it in movies. It's never mentioned in any kind of pop culture, but like a fully armored knight in plate holding a firearm is a thing that existed on the battlefields in Europe in the Middle Ages. And to actually see that, and like for the museum to show people like, hey, this is actually what it is. It's not Game of Thrones. It's not, A Knight's Tale, which great movie, that sort of thing. Like this is how these people fought, was just really, really cool. And just all the different big, huge, like 2-handed swords, and like all these big lances and the maces and like all that stuff. It's just really, really cool. I loved it. I think me and Jackson went through it like one end and then out, and I'm like, man, I could spend like another half an hour in there just looking at all this stuff.
Yeah, the uniforms all the way up through World War One were really impressive, TJ. Like you said, the armor and everything, but I mean, uniforms from almost all the mainland armies through the Napoleonic era, World War One. And then one thing I was pretty impressed by is they had a whole bunch of World War One artillery pieces, and a bunch of them looked like they were in original camouflage colors. If they weren't, they certainly looked pretty legit. But trench mortars and field guns, and really, really impressive artillery displays.
Well, yeah, their artillery collection inspired me to buy some things at the show, and we'll talk about that, I guess, when we get there. But yeah, I love artillery pieces. It's kind of hard to go wrong with big things that go boom. So
yeah, the museum, I would say it had the best World War One collection I've ever seen. I mean, just the amount of German helmets and how unique they are with the spikes and the gilding and all that stuff. I mean, it was incredible. And like you said, Scott, the World War One artillery there, I've never seen that many pieces in one location, all in original paint, with those weird, black outline German schemes. There was even some other like ones that were like stippled. It was just kind of incredible to see it all in one place. I think Jackson, me and you talked about that. That one scheme was like they basically dabbed around the outlines of the scheme. It was wild. It was just cool. And then outside of that, they also had kind of the courtyard. The courtyard there used to hold some World War II vehicles. Actually, those are all at Bastogne Barracks now, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But they had some modern vehicles there. I'd never seen a Flak Panzer Gepard, and there was one there. And then the aircraft hall, it looks a little drab, and it definitely needs a little bit of updating, but the collection there is pretty exquisite. Everything from a Hind in original colors to a Ferry Battle, which I was not expecting to see. They had a Blenheim, Spit, Hurricane, and a bunch of World War I stuff on one of the catwalks that we couldn't get to. But bottom line, it's an amazing museum. We didn't spend enough time there, and then afterwards we went and grabbed some burgers at a local place, which were pretty good, if I don't say so myself. After that, we kind of just hopped on the road and went into the Ardennes forest. Some of us had been there already. Half the group hadn't, but I think we saw enough new stuff that it definitely made it worth it, and the stuff we saw again was totally fun. But, one of the first stops we made was at a Sherman dump that I thought we could get closer to, but they had erected a new fence. So there were some rusty hulks behind a fence we saw, and we quickly deviated from that and then went to the town of La Roche. I will say Jackson was kind enough to say, hey, there's a Sherman on the way. We should stop. So every car stopped except Jackson's car. And Jackson, I think, still harbors a little bit of disappointment for that. But we took pictures of the bogies, and he feels fine now. Classic mix-up, I guess.
In my defense, my GPS was acting up. Was it not, Jackson? I mean, back up here, it was acting up. We were all like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, I feel, are we not there yet? Because then it was like, "Oh, now you're 5 minutes away." And then all of a sudden, it switched to being like 18 minutes away. I'm like, "What the hell?" Like, I'm on the same road, and that's because I don't know. It was acting really weird. That happened multiple times, or it would just freeze up and not show us moving. I'm like, I have no idea where the hell we're going.
That definitely happened a couple times with us too. But we did make it to La Roche. Maybe TJ, I think you spotted the folks first there. So who was there when we rolled up?
No, they spotted me. So
okay.
We got to La Roche first, and we're looking at that was an Achilles, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a regular M10. It was an M10 Achilles. So you can kind of climb on these things. They don't have signs that say not to. They just have signs that say, if you get hurt, we're not responsible. So we took that as we can climb on them. So I think Jackson and Jeff were like climbing on the thing, and Stefan. Then I was like, I fell off one of these last time I was in Europe, so I'm not going to climb on this one. I was just like kind of milling around, and La Roche is absolutely gorgeous. It's probably the prettiest place I've been to in Belgium. And where this Achilles is kind of like where you come into La Roche, so you're like up high, and most of the town like sits down low, and then you can see the castle, which I don't know what the castle's called, which, to Scott's point, that castle was built in the year 800. Well, not the one you see, but like the first castle there was built in the year 800. So there's been a castle there for like 1200 years. It was freaking sweet. And I'm just like kind of milling around, taking pictures, like looking around. And I look up and I see Dan Brooker and Andy Argent, and like Dan's yelling at my name. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't think we planned on meeting these guys here. And Dan was like, I was driving by. We were driving into La Roche because this is where we're staying. And I'm like, holy that's TJ. So I was like, so we had to stop. And I'm like, well, what's going on, guys? And so they hung out with us for a little while, and then you guys finally caught up, and we all took pictures at the M10. Everyone was climbing on it. Nick almost fell off it. I thought he was gonna die. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. And then we went down into the town of La Roche, which was absolutely gorgeous. And it was kind of funny while I was waiting for everyone to show up. I'm like, La Roche, and I think Jackson was like, yeah, there's an M4A176 in there. I'm like, So like Googled like M4A1 in La Roche, and I saw a picture of it. I'm like, I think I know someone that is interested in this. So I texted Kenneth Childress. I'm like, hey man, that monument tank you want to build, that's in La Roche, right? He's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, well, you're not going to believe this. I'm getting ready to walk down and look at it. And he's like, it's like, yeah, pretty much. I know my life sucks. So we went down there and checked that out. And I took a bunch of pictures of everything because Ken wants to build that as is, exactly the way it sits. It kind of sits kind of angled up or down. I can't remember. It's cool. And La Roche is beautiful. We went and I hung off a Hetzer and went and bought a big old bottle of beer with Jeff. Yeah, it was great, man. Absolutely beautiful place. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, that was kind of our first main stop in Belgium. And Scott, maybe talk about, you talk about fairyland places. Like like just share your raw emotion of what La Roche kind of meant to you seeing it and experiencing it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, any town with a castle overlooking it, actual, medieval castle is really cool. But I mean, the Ardennes area is like everywhere you look, you're in a postcard. It's fall, the leaves are all beautiful colors, they're falling down. Everything is green, really, really beautiful. And these little towns have these churches and in some cases castles that have been there for, thousands of years, right? And then all of these towns have really, I think, gone to great lengths to preserve the history of what happened during the war, and whether it's a Sherman tank or whether it's a Jagdpanzer 38T just right in the middle of town on the main sort of walking boulevard, or in some cases an 88 near the graveyard overlooking the town. It's just amazing. And all of these towns were incredibly beautiful in their own rights and very, very nice people. And just the history and the architecture were just overwhelming. Every place was like, oh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And then we'd go to another town, go to Clairvaux or go to Bastogne, or you go to all these places. They were just incredible. It's kind of overwhelming. John fired me as a navigator when we were in Brussels, because if you go to Brussels, just be prepared, because people are insane. Like the pedestrians, I guess there's laws there that if you hit a pedestrian, you're kind of screwed. Well, they know that. And they will motorcycle in front of you. They will walk in front of you. They will bike in front of you. They don't care. They're literally insane. But, between what you're seeing, it's like I said, it's almost overwhelming. It's just beautiful. If anybody's thinking about going to Belgium, I'd recommend it. It's a fantastic place.
Yeah, so after La Roche, we hightailed it to our Airbnb, which was in the town of Foy, or Foix, as it's correctly pronounced, I believe. But the town of Foy is episode 7, I think, in Band of Brothers. That's where Shifty Powers kills the Nazi sniper in the building, and we stayed in an Airbnb right across from it. What a really surreal experience that was, in a huge house. I mean, it was awesome. And I think I want to highlight the first night there. I applaud Grant and Peter just calmly waiting for their entry into the storyline. They're halfway through the miniseries is when their characters become the star of the show. But that first night, I think in Foy was really something special. And maybe Scott, I want to highlight you again. I feel like we're all calling on Scott here, because it was almost like you look at him, he had smiles ear to ear. But that first night when, the Four Corners gents came over, Ian, Kev, Spud, and Dan Sankey, I think that was one of the coolest experiences we had in that house. And certainly we did it again the next day when Peter arrived. But maybe Scott, talk about that night. Oh, and Stefan showed up as well. I shouldn't miss that too. Stefan Ortman's awesome modeler from Cologne, met us in Brussels, and he was part of this journey. Martin met us in Brussels as well, which was great. Martin Drayton. We had Nick Wolf there. So the group was huge. I think there was 11 of us staying in the house, and then upwards of 20 of us in the area. But Scott, specifically that first night, you've never met Spud in person, and maybe, get a little bit of emotional when, you had your first date with Spud, and, just talk about that evening, what you experienced, and maybe what that brotherhood's like and why we do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like John said, we're staying in this, Airbnb that is just full of history. I think it was a German CP or something during the war. And as he mentioned, right across the street, there's a building where Shifty Powers took out a German sniper, and there's still bullet holes in the side of the building. I mean, it's really incredible. But anyway, we're texting, and I texted Spud, as they weren't very far away, and I said, hey, here's our address if you guys want to come over and hang out with us. And, we were getting ready to do our kind of show before the show where everybody put some models that we all brought out on the table. We all kind of take a look at it together. It's always a lot of fun and everything. And sure enough, 20 or 30 minutes later, we got a knock on the door, and 4 of the Four Corners guys show up. It's Spud and Dan Sankey and Kev Smith and Ian McGonigal, and they showed up and they came in. And Spud and I have been friends over the internet for a long, long time. And John's always been very generous with me, giving me references and helped out. And he gave me the gift gift of one of his models that I really, really liked. And I gave him a gift last year in return and everything. But it was amazing to kind of get to sit down with somebody and meet them in person and just talk. And man, what a night. I think 5 or 6 hours went by like in the blink of an eye. And like John said, we had friends that had joined in at that point and everything. But where we were, the house had a history to it. There was actually a diorama in there that somebody had made, the owner of the building. That was kind of cool. But being in this beautiful place near the Ardennes in Europe, in this historical place, and with friends and doing the show before the show, it was literally a magic night. Very, very loud, great big group of people, but it's perfect. It's why we do that. We came over to Europe. Yes, we saw some cool museums and don't want to, minimize those things at all, but we came over here for the people, the show, and we'll get into that more. But, getting to meet the Four Corners guys, John and TJ and Jensen, they'd already got to spend time with them. But that was awesome, and an experience that would continue on through the weekend.
Yeah, and then the next morning, we woke up and ran over to Clairvaux, which is a small town in Luxembourg. And as Scott mentioned, he thought La Roche was awesome. And then we went to the town of Clairvaux. And I think he decided to look into how can he get dual citizenship in Luxembourg because it was a fairy tale.
Yeah, it might be one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Just it's in kind of a little, I guess, a little ravine is what you would call it.
Valley, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, you have your church completely made out of stone, stained glass windows, 1,000 years old, I'm sure. Big convent up on the ridge above, kind of looking down, and then a beautiful monument. I'll let John and the guys talk about with a Sherman, dedicated to kind of what happened during the war. But just, I mean, like I said, an absolute postcard of a town, just beautiful and perfect temperature everywhere we went. I was telling John the other day, I took a jacket with me. I wore a jacket maybe 2 hours the entire time. It could not have been better weather and just more beautiful. So, and Clairvaux, beautiful place.
Yeah, and I'll call out two of the co-hosts here to talk more about two locations. TJ, I'll go to you first. That Sherman that was there, maybe give us a little history about what that Sherman is. And you're certainly modeling it, but tell our listeners what that Sherman did and what unit it was with.
Yeah, so that Sherman is really cool. It wasn't there when we were there last year. We saw it. It was at Bastogne Barracks where it was getting fixed up. It was repainted and everything. But that tank is kind of special because it's the only known surviving vehicle for the 9th Armored Division, which I think they landed in France in late summer, early fall. So they were like a really fresh armored division. By the time the bulge started in December, they were actually just had moved into the area when the battle started. So most of those guys were not battle tested. I think they were all fresh troops. That's part of the reason why, anyone that knows the history of the bulge, like most of the bulk of the forces were in rest and recuperating because of everything that's happened, in France going through into Belgium up until then. That tank was one of like 30 tanks, American tanks that were in action around Clairvaux when the bulge started. And that one in particular used to sit up higher by the castle. It's not really a castle. That's what everyone calls it. It's like a fortified manor house. It's really cool. There's a museum in there now. When it came into town with its platoon, it pulled up to the castle and took a pretty good defensive position where it was hiding behind what they called the Brown House. And it would peek out and shoot at the main road that kind of winds down into the town, and it knocked out a Stug and a Mark IV at some point. Then it took a hit and they bailed, and that was it. Based on what they were able to, I think, figure out, I think the crew all survived because it was hit. They bailed, and then it got hit multiple times after that when it was abandoned. They were never able to get the tank back, and it sat there for years and years and years. And it's really cool. It's pretty neat to see that, that piece of history still exists. And they get to see it after it's been refurbished and repainted in its new place, kind of below the castle in a nice little alcove where it kind of looks over the town. It was really, really cool. Like you mentioned, I love that vehicle. I've built it. It's on my desk behind me, that exact one. I try to match everything as best I could. But yeah, it was really cool. I was so happy because I know we weren't originally going to go to Clairvaux, and JB, you would kind of mention, well, we could probably pop over there, and I'm glad we did because it was pretty cool to get to see it like in its new home.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's really cool, and listeners, when you go to these sites, I particularly like the history of the exact vehicle. And around these vehicles, they do little photo montages. And a lot of times there are photos there that you've never seen before. And there was a photo there. There was actually two photos of the same scene with those two Shermans. I think one was on top of like halfway on the other one. I'd never seen that photo before, and it really stuck out as a really cool potential vignette. It was just super neat from the Clairvaux area. And then Jackson, maybe I'll call out you because you stole my idea and you're going to build it. So talk about that last location we went up to where the road was closed, but it's a pretty iconic area where there's some awesome photos taken.
So I can talk about it, but I didn't join you guys on that.
Yeah. Just taking my ideas and not even going to the location.
Yeah. Last year we got to see it, which was awesome. But yeah, there's a famous photo of a Stug and a Sherman that were both knocked out and basically pushed around this kind of hairpin turn coming into Clairvaux from the south side into like the cemetery. And when you look at like a before and after, like some of the tombstones are the same, right? So like you can very clearly see the area is like almost identical. That was the Sherman was part of the 707th Tank Battalion. I think it was one of like 5 that were in Clairvaux, and 3 of them got knocked out, including that one. But it just makes for like a super interesting diorama because you've got, tank from both sides knocked out in a cemetery. I mean, that's pretty metaphorical, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really cool scene. And just again, overall impression of Clairvaux was awesome. I will highlight, Jonathan Anderson, Doc, Scale Model Doc. He joined us. And then this is the first time I've ever met the man, the myth, the legend that we had on earlier in this show and hasn't said much. But Peter, that's where we all met you after you drove how many hours to join us?
Yeah, I drove all night, about 12 hours. Maybe a little less. I pulled up to their house around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I only saw one car outside. So I was texting the group like, "Hey guys, where are you?" And Scott replied that, "Oh, we're in Clairvaux." And I checked my phone in Google Maps, and it says that it's a 3-minute drive in the direction I was just coming from. So I almost started crying there, to be honest. But then he's like, "Yeah, but maybe TJ and Jackson is still in the house." So it was a bit surreal because I knock on the door and TJ opens it. They are like having breakfast, getting ready to leave. And he asked me like, "So are you Peter?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And TJ goes, "Nice." Basically our first conversation. And then we went together. I mean, I followed them in my car and we drove to Clairvaux, and that was the first Sherman ever that I saw in real life, the one you guys just described.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. That's the first Sherman you've ever seen. And it's completely unique. The only one in existence of that particular unit that saw action and was knocked out, and you're like, yes, the first one I've ever seen. I've never seen one before.
Yeah, we get Eastern Bloc stuff here. Not many Shermans.
Yeah, it was. So after that, we went back into Bastogne. We had a great lunch in downtown. There's plenty of places to eat. We hit up Double, where Jeff got his hardwood fix. He bought some walnut strips, which he has been, I think, he had been regretting that decision not to pick them up last year. So it was nice to see full circle him get what he wanted. But yeah, we had a nice lunch in a place right across from another Sherman, which there you go, Peter, 2 for 2, another battle-worn Sherman, which is pretty awesome. And then after that, we went over to Bastogne Barracks, which was a really good time. And they had a lot of stuff there that we hadn't seen before. For our listeners, Bastogne Barracks is right on the outskirts of Bastogne, super easy to get to. And Jensen, I haven't heard from you in a while, so maybe I'll turn it over to you. Tell us what your favorite thing was at Bastogne Barracks.
Well, we all know infamously last year I was like, this is nice, but this is better. I've done a 180 this year. Actually, no, I was going to say it's the M4 A176. It's not. It's the fact that last year when we were there, Cobra King, first in Bastogne, I know it's not the original, but that wasn't there last year. And it was so cool being able to see that this year and get a picture in front of it because that is such an iconic vehicle. Like, again, I know it's not the Cobra King, but it's damn close. And it looks really cool and it's menacing and big and beefy. And yeah, it was a nice surprise. I didn't think it was going to be there. Like, I didn't see anything about it being there, but yeah, walking in that room and seeing it with the other two Shermans, the 105 and the 76. Yeah, that's a really nice trio.
Yeah, the Jumbo has a certain presence. I will say that Jumbo is a battle veteran. I think it was knocked out and sat on the side of the road in Belgium for decades. And then it was like cosmetically restored and went to the Brussels museum that we were at. And then I think just within the last 5 to 10 years, Bastogne Barracks got it and fully restored it to running condition. So now it participates in the Nuts weekend they hold every year in commemoration for the Bulge. I don't know if there's anything else unique about it, Jackson, worth mentioning, our resident Sherman consigliere.
I mean, I don't think there's anything super unique other than it's a Jumbo, and there's not many of those left. So seeing one's awesome in general.
Yeah, I think it's the only running one, obviously.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Since we briefly mentioned it, that M4A3 that's in McAuliffe Square, that's also a battle veteran that was knocked out in the area, and 4 of the 5 crew members survived the war. So
Wow.
There was a book that came out like in the 90s with telling the story of the tank and the crew, and I believe at least some of the crew had been back to visit. There's pictures of them visiting their old tank, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the softcover book. I actually picked up a little one at the museum there in Bastogne last year. And again, that's why I love these museums, because there's resources there that you can't find on the internet yet. So that was a cool book that talked about that specific vehicle. So after Bastogne Barracks, the group kind of split up a little bit. Some people went and saw the Bois-Jacques or the Beau-Jacques, where that's where Easy Company was shelled, and some of the members were killed there out on the outskirts of Foix. And then I think at that point, Scott and Josh had enough, and they went back to the Airbnb, and a few other people did too. But Jackson and I went wandering around in the woods. And maybe, Jackson, I'll turn over to you just to talk about, like, there's the Bois-Jacques that everybody knows, but where were we, and what were some of the things that we saw in those woods?
Yeah, so that was fun. I think you said it's the Bois Champy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, that was kind of the woods, I guess, more like northwest, I guess, of the Bois-Jacques. It's the woods that Easy Company launched their attack from. So like in the scene Band of Brothers, where Winters is like itching to go out there and he calls Spears up, like that's the set of woods we were in. And yeah, we drove down this road, and JB and I just hopped out and started walking around the woods, found a couple foxholes, which was cool because, you know, it's not that the Bois-Jacques is very like, what's the term? Like, it's gated off. It's part of the museum, you know, it's a little bit more maintained. This felt like almost like us just actually wandering and trying to find stuff because there's no maps or guides or anything. And there's still a lot of foxholes over there, and it was super cool standing in one of them and being able to see the town of Foix like right over the hill. So yeah, that was fun. And then after that, we got back in the car and we were headed back to the Airbnb, and JB was like, "Hey, I know a quick spot. Like, you got more gas in the tank?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we pulled off, and he brought us to a German cemetery from all the German soldiers that fought in the Bulge and were killed. And I'm assuming it's one of many, but that was kind of crazy. It was just hundreds, if not thousands, of tombstones, and then there were 3 bodies to a grave. And like trying to comprehend how many people were kind of buried beneath me at that moment is just hard to do. And then JB pointed out that some of the tombstones actually just said Ein Soldat, like one soldier, like just unidentified, and there were a bunch of them that were like that. So that was kind of like a good hallowed ground moment. It was something different to what we were normally doing on the trip, and I'm definitely glad we stopped. It was definitely worth the little bit of extra walking.
Yeah, it was cool. And then we went in the chapel there, which it was very eerie. It was a very eerie place, but it's right near the town of Foix, easy to get to, highly recommended. I assure you, listeners, we're going to get to the show eventually. We have one more day left in the Ardennes, and we made our way out. I'll go briefly. We stopped at Houffalize first and saw the Pantheret, which was cool. Again, another first for Peter. or sorry, I should say Panther G. And then we stopped in the town of Grand Menil near Monhai and saw the Panther G there. And then we finished the Ardennes tour in the town of L'Église. And it was just another really cool place. A lot of us had been there before, but I think it was worth another stop. Great museum there. I think, Scott, you'd rank that up as one of your most popular museums.
Yeah, it was a really small museum, but there's a king tiger out in front of it. And the crazy thing about that is it's so massive. And this town is not a town, it's a village, literally. And you see this vehicle and you think, they're 20, 21-year-old kids trying to drive this thing around in this village. It's insane. But the museum in this little village, there's a display of all the things they've dug up in the farms around the village, and everything from cameras to shaving kits to first aid kits to they found an American 2-star general helmet with a bullet hole through it. I mean, everything you can think of. And really, it's a kind of display that really brings it home to, what the people in this particular village kind of endured during all this fighting, just hundreds and hundreds of old grenades and shells and just, the amount of devastation and everything that was there. And it really made an impression. Great museum. John bought a rubber pad from a Hanomag, I think, right, John? A Hanomag rubber pad.
Yeah, I got one. Jackson went back and picked one up. And then I think the buy of the day, though, goes to Mikkel. He picked up an MG42 ammo box with original Dunkelgelb on it for 70 euros. And I'm like, damn, I kind of regret not buying that because that doubled as one of his carry-ons, I think. So, but yeah, listeners, we're finally on our way to the show. Believe me, SMC is an awesome show, but I think it's worth noting that Europe is so small and there's so many things near Eindhoven that you can definitely make it just more than a show itself. And once we finished in L'Église and Scott had some of the best meatballs of his life with some pommes frites, he got an iced tea there. So, Scott, was it the iced tea you wanted or was it the one you got, I guess?
Not exactly. It was carbonated, but I got one, so I'm good. But
beggars can't be choosers.
That's right. That's right. So what was great about that lunch is, like John said, food was incredible. But I think about that time is when Peter was finally starting to get the dynamic of this massive group, poor guy. And, we're giving each other a lot of crap as we do and everything, and poor Peter's kind of hanging on there. And we also got to give Stefan a little crap. We're all leaning on the king tiger getting a photo, and kind of giving him a hard time about, your grandfather kind of did this, and he was taking it all as pretty good joke and everything. But these guys, in all seriousness, we loved having them in the group, and I'm sure it was kind of a, major adjustment to have this mob of, we had our token Brit with us, but, mob of Americans kind of show up. And I'm sure there were times Peter was going, what have I done?
I think I regret drawing pictures for these guys.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it. I think I did okay among these guys.
You did great, man. I mean, you meshed right in, and so did Stefan. It was great, and just enjoyed it. But like John said, I think taking the opportunity to go and see some things on the way to the show, that's kind of become a Posse thing, right? We go to Commies Fest in Denver, and it's like, there's a show, but we go to museums, we go to hobby shops, we get, go get great food to eat. It just is sort of what we do. And man, it really helps. I think by the time we got to SMC, we were a pretty tight knit group anyway, but I think we were even tighter having seen all of that. And then you get to see a lot of, I want to go back to when we went to L'Église and the bunker where Joachim Piper hid. I went down inside of that bunker, and then we saw in the little museum in town, we saw his clipboard that he threw. Somebody found it, and it's there. And so history then, I mean, it starts to live and breathe because you're seeing this stuff and seeing, John brought a model of that Panther that was destroyed, his Panther. And, we're standing there where the vehicle was destroyed with his model. and you can see, and he had photos, and you could see the building right off the side of the road, which is still there. And it really brings it all to life from a historical standpoint. And then, like I said, that carries over into our trip to the show and kind of on from there. But yeah, what a great day in a string of really great days. And then we got to SMC.
Yeah, I'll just note real quick. I kind of forgot mentioning it, but taking my model to the spot where it had happened, I really liked that. That was probably one of the highlights of the trip where, I'd been that spot twice before, but actually bringing the model of the vehicle that was destroyed there, seeing remnants of things in the photograph that are still there, like the gate, the fence post, part of the building, and the terrain. It was just kind of surreal and special. And I really enjoyed it. And I think that's going to be something I try to do every year, is where build something of a location where I could potentially go to again, because it was really cool. And it was an area that's not much has changed since then in the town of Chenot outside of Eglise. As Scott mentioned, from there, we went to the show. So listeners, we're an hour and a half in, and you're finally going to hear about SMC. So buckle up. This should be a lot of fun. I'm not going to split up SMC into Saturday and Sunday because it's just a blur, be honest. And even the Friday where the show soft opened. And I think for this segment, I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I really would love to see Scott, Grant, Peter, and obviously Jensen Jackson and TJ to talk. But like for the folks that have never been there before, I really want to hear your raw take on, the arrival. We'll just start and kind of like walking into NH Königshof, seeing the place and what kind of things, how it all clicks together, putting your model on the table, like that emotion that's there. And again, listeners, this is scale modeling. Using the E word emotion might not be the most appropriate thing, but in this case, I think it is. It's certainly something that this show, it brings emotions that very few others do. Certainly shows in the US don't do this. So maybe I'll pause there. We haven't heard from Grant yet. And Grant, maybe I'll start with you and tee you up in a sense of like, getting to the venue, seeing the hall, and then entering your model. Talk about that journey, what it meant to you, those raw emotions that you're feeling during those moments that like, I am here.
Yeah, it was. It still gives me goosebumps today. It was a great environment. I arrived in Amsterdam probably about 8:00 in the morning. So you guys were still doing your traveling. I was heading down to Eindhoven from there, and I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to be able to meet up with them in the Bulge area, so I'm going to go. I got my rental car, and I decided, which by the way was a stick, and I haven't driven a stick in 20 years, so that was very fun. So I started. I looked at my map, and I've got time. I'm going to do Arnhem, Nijmegen, Eindhoven. So I got off the roads and I followed the path that the 30 Corps did, but in reverse. So I went up to Arnhem first, came down through Nijmegen, which was really cool. I got to drive over the bridges and see stuff like that. I got to see where I stopped and pulled over the side of the road and looked at where the 82nd Airborne and Nijmegen crossed the water in the boats, the very flimsy boats that they did. Fantastic, great thing. And it got to Eindhoven and got to the site. That was crazy for me when I got there because I'd seen 1,000 pictures of the location and what it was about. And I kind of got goosebumps because I was walking in early. I didn't expect anybody to be there, really, because it was like 12 o'clock, 12:30-ish when I got there. I walk in the door, and the first person I walk smack into is Spencer Pollard. Literally almost hit him, and we talked for a few minutes. And then it was just a whirlwind from there. I met up with some of the Four Corners. Peter Usher was there. I actually had the opportunity to go to Peter Usher's class that day, which started at 1 o'clock. And that was unbelievable. He did a class on painting and weathering of armored vehicles. And this class, I've been to a lot of classes all over the place. And this class was amazing. He actually resin produced part of a Jag Panther for us to work on. And it was basic painted. We went in and did all the highlight weathering. And the class was hands-on. We were painting all day. We were having a great time. And it was just something to see, just to be able to sit there with Peter Usher and just basically, and then talk about how to do this and how to do that. And the people in the class were fantastic. And it was just an environment where I've never been before. And that kind of environment and what was going on was great. It was really great. I actually got to see close up and personal Peter Usher's Crossing the Gap He had his diorama there. And if you haven't seen that, just look it up. It's a wonderful, wonderful diorama. He had a couple of his other ones there. He had the one of the Sherman from a couple of years ago with the nun on top. And they're all pointing in directions. And he took us through the processes of how he built those and why he did certain things. And that was just that alone for the class was unbelievable. And then as I was sitting in the class, I started to see people walk by, and I think I saw Jensen first. And then I saw TJ, and it was like I hadn't seen him in a year. It was great. We all talked to the hall. Peter came out and started talking to TJ, and it was just like old home week. And it was one of those environments where it's hard to explain it. You, TJ, Jensen, Jackson, everybody else has been there before have undersold it. You completely undersold it. You walk into that environment and you can't explain it. It's one of those things where you've seen it so much and you've wanted to be there for a long time, and it's so much better than that, I guess is the best way I can put it. But that was my introduction to the whole facility. The place is huge, first of all. Another thing, the location is massive. And you think you've seen it, and then you come around the corner, and then there's another massive spot. So it was such a great environment, such a great group of people, and such a great time that it for me as a first time goer there, as a contestant and as a visitor, it was just you undersold it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest regrets I have, and we'll definitely do it next year, we'll plan accordingly, is the Peter Usher seminar that you took. I think that was awesome. Walking in at the end of that, seeing Pete, obviously, and Darren had helped him, and seeing what you all worked on was just really cool. The amount of progress you made in a short amount of time, I think it was so worth it. Yeah, definitely doing that next year. Scott, I'll go over to you. Walking into that hall, putting your E25 on the table, what was that like, man?
It was incredible. It was, I mean, first of all, it was sort of the conclusion of a story, but yet it was seeing the work that was already on the table. And then Alex Clark walks in and comes over and starts talking to me and talks to me about my model and, people that we've spoken to but never met in person. And that, to me, that's going to be my biggest takeaway. I mean, the quality of the work is amazing, but I think there's an element of the show that I guess I underestimated. And you walk in the door and it started with the Four Corners guys in Foix, and it kind of continued on there. But whether it was Robert and Margot like personally coming over and thanking you for coming, whether it was Marin Van Gils coming over and introducing himself, or on and on and on, not to just name drop it. There's this global community feel to this show that I underestimated, and it was really awesome. There's an esprit de corps to it. There isn't any kind of crazy competition or anything like that. It isn't like that at all. And it was just, that part of it was really like you could taste it as soon as you walked in. It was a vibe. It's an atmosphere, and it's really humbling and maybe a little bit intimidating, but your eyes just kind of get this sense of wonderment as you're looking around at the work and at the people, and you're meeting, people from all over the world that have come, and we met Australians and people from the Far East and all over Europe, obviously, and then us rowdy Americans. It was really, really cool. And again, for me, it was the people and the vibe are what I'm going to take away from it, is the things that really just blew me away.
Oh, hell yeah. It's an amazing place. And, for those, I'll go to Peter. For someone that's never been to SMC, Peter, what were your thoughts of the show? And I know we kind of bullied you before the show. I think you were going to sleep outside in Belgium if you didn't enter in Masters. So maybe talk about your experience at the show and how you felt about it.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I haven't been to a show in 20 years. Definitely not to this standard as SMC. But it was easy because I rode with the cool guys. Scott and Jonathan rode with me in my car, and we pulled up to the hotel, and I just followed the Posse guys around everywhere. So that was really cool. The amount of people we met who I've kind of quote unquote known online but never actually met in person was crazy. And a lot of people were like, I'm introducing myself, and they're like, oh, you're Peter, I've seen your work. And I was like blown away, like, how do these people know me at all? Or how did anyone see my work or recognize my work? So it was really cool. And again, all the people we met, that's the best part of the whole show.
Oh, for sure, 100%. And speaking about the people, I'll go to TJ now. Talk about the judging room, the judging seminar. I guess you could say the prelude meeting. And Scott sitting there awestruck with us.
Yeah, I know I mentioned it last year, because last year was the first year I judged. And I judged again this year. This is the third year for you, which is friggin' sweet. But yeah, you want to talk about a room where you feel like you don't belong? It's the judges meeting before judging an SMC. It's literally everybody who's anybody, and then my dumbass sitting in there like, this is not this isn't right. I don't know if I belong in this room, but clearly they think I do, which is the highest honor I think I've ever gotten in this hobby. So I'm fortunate that I'm there. But yeah, I mean, even on like I knew a lot of those people. I met them last year, or I met a lot of them the first year. Got to know them more last year. And like I can't remember who I was talking to. It might have been Jensen, but like oh, that's my new best friend Jose Brito. Yeah, we're pals. It's like every time he sees me, he's like, oh, he comes over and says hi to me and talks to me and asks me how I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, it's just me and my new best friend. Yeah, it was like I don't know, man. It's really crazy. I feel like that this is my life meme. Like that's me. I can't believe that I wake up every day and that's what I get to do. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, we're sitting there and right in front of us, Scott's sitting next to me. I think I have to keep jabbing him to make sure he's like not fainting. But in front of us, there's, Maren Van Giels, Pierre Lovland, Norbert Schult, who's a fantastic aircraft modeler and diorama modeler. And then there's Roger Herkmans, and then there's like us dumbasses. And it's just, like you said, TJ, it's the highest honor in scale modeling. It's and it's a different vibe. It's not one that is like any other traditional, 4-letter show. And nothing against those shows, but the judging at SMC is different. Everyone's invited if we haven't talked about it. And it's pretty amazing. Robert runs a really tight ship, and you have and we didn't even talk about the figure painters. I mean, you legit have artists in the room. I mean, Marco Fazzoni, Eric Swinson, I mean, Magnus, all of them are there. And it's like just wild how amazing it is. And the briefing's pretty straightforward. And then we break off, and as TJ mentioned, we judged ordnance. I was on the armor side. TJ was on I think the Rise of the Machine side, which is sci-fi. But it was a lot of fun. Ivan Cocker runs it all. He's out of Malta. Super nice guy. He's like one of the nicest dudes in the world. We judge we started at 3:30 in the afternoon, and my team, we actually were one of the last to finish because we had some pretty big categories, but we judged all the way up to 7:30. And then this year they did it a little bit differently. They took the highest ranking pieces from all the categories and considered them for best of show. Maybe I'll pause there and I'll let Jensen talk about what won Best Ordnance, which was such an expressive piece. And Jensen, we haven't heard you talk about the show much, so maybe take it away and talk about that.
Yeah, so it was funny because sometimes the things I think will win the best of is usually not what wins because it's something quite abstract or like, oh yeah, we'll never have thought of that. But I think me and Jackson were talking beforehand, but the piece that did win was something we discussed and were like, that I think that's the one. And then in the award ceremony, when it came up, it's like, yeah, like completely justified. It's a beautiful destroyed Japanese Zero. When I say it's destroyed, it's downed in a field. It's missing half a wing. A lot of the skin is ripped apart. You can see the internal framework. The Hinamarus are absolutely battered. The paint's all faded right down to the metal color. It's beautiful. And what really makes it stand out is it's not just a destroyed Zero. It's on a white field with a red circle, a Hinamaru, the modern Japanese flag, done in like poppies. Well, they appear to be poppies. And it's just instantly so tasteful. It's honestly, like, as soon as we saw it, we're like, holy like that is an impressive piece. It really does catch your eye, and you can't help but kind of stare at it for a pretty long time. A lot of people do Rex, TJ, and a lot of people can't portray like the message and the emotion from the piece that won. That is, it's I'd say breathtaking, but yeah, it's stunning. So the name of the piece, thank you, JB, is Funeral on the Equinox Week, I believe. Yeah, when that came up, like, yeah, that I'm not saying other pieces didn't deserve to be best of show, but that piece, it's like no one could like shake their head and say, really? It was like, yeah, valid. Absolutely.
What set it aside, and this was mentioned, I believe it was mentioned when we were voting on best ofs. It was a single vehicle that was entered into the diorama category with no figures, no animals, nothing. So that was like, holy shit. Okay, like it belongs here. Yeah, it's a crash zero. Like, cool. They've been done a million times. Like you mentioned, I did a wrecked vehicle. JB did a wrecked vehicle. People do wrecked vehicles, but this one was like different, if that makes sense, where it was, yeah, I don't know. When I saw it, I was like, that is freaking amazing. And when I saw that it got nominated for best ofs, I'm like, I've already got my vote. That's what I'm voting for. It's a no-brainer. And I think it won pretty handily. Didn't get every vote, but yeah, it was, the fact that it was a single vehicle, but in dioramas and didn't seem out of place is, I think, one of the best part, aside from the technical execution of the piece, which was phenomenal. That part of it is you just have to be like, wow, that's like peak diorama-ing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm like, man, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think that's what TJ, that's what I brought away from the show overall, is that storytelling element of everything is really, I think, somewhere something that mostly the Europeans are maybe better at it than we are over here. I'm generalizing, but what sets that piece apart is really what you saw on every table consistently, kind of across the board. That high level of quality is there. Of course, it's beautifully painted, beautifully executed, but it's really conveying emotion and storytelling, I think, where that, to me, SMC really stood out consistently.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Scott. There was a huge Japanese contingent there. There were a lot of figure painters were there, some unbelievable work, and I actually watched one of the Japanese painters come over and bow to that diorama. And that shows you right there. It's just when you get that kind of reaction, with, like TJ said, diorama, one thing, and it was just amazing.
And I hate to sound like one of those guys, but I'd say this is one of the...
Too late. You would have to know my name.
This is one of those pieces that I think, like, it goes into it's art category. I know it's modeling, but like that is so artistic. I would call it art. And I know there's that whole big discussion, modeling art, but for me, that piece alone kind of, it screams like museum. I would go into a museum and expect to see something like that.
Yeah, it was flawless. And going back, Grant, you had mentioned the Japanese contingent. The other gentleman that was there, and I met him at the very end of the show, was the author of Diorama Perfection. He had built a T-84, and holy cow, super nice guy. But I was standing there with the Four Corners guys, and he walked by and someone said hi to him. I was like, who is that? And they're like, oh, that's the guy who did Diorama Perfection. And I'm like, oh, I chased him down and said hi to him. Super nice guy. But that was the entire vibe. Everybody would say hi and everybody was super nice. And yeah, it was awesome.
It's kind of something that was mentioned a little earlier. It's one thing I like about SMC, and when you said you were in the judges' room and everyone you've met and everyone in, it's something Peter said, like, oh, like, how do you know me? What I like about SMC is like, we talk about all these names and like all these people we consider like, oh my God, they're famous. Like, there are no kings at SMC. Everyone's so humble, but no one believes they're above anyone else, which is really nice, and it makes the place so inviting and so comforting, and like everyone belongs there. Because while we may think, oh my God, like that's that person, I can't go over and say hello, they'll run up to you and they'll be like, hi, I know you. It's like, oh, how do you know me? But yeah, there are no thrones at SMC, which I love.
So since you mentioned people being humble, I feel like I'm going to have to tell this story because I don't think he will, because he's on the call with us. But our very own Grant Mayberry entered in the comp, as you know. And Grant, what did you bring?
Brought my pod. That's about it. Some figures. That's about it.
Right. So Grant, he's kind of downplaying it. He scratch built a hyperspace pod from Star Wars. And I know he talked about it on the podcast a lot. I think the original, it was a 48 scale, right? Used the 48 scale kits to build it, and I think the original one was 35th scale or maybe even larger.
Yeah, it was the original one was it's from Empire Strikes Back, the beginning of the movie. The original one was made from 135th scales and 124 scale or 112 scale parts and stuff like that. And I decided to make mine a little bit more transportable and build it in 148 scale, basically.
All right, so and a little backstory to this. Grant and I had talked numerous times, and he had asked me what I thought what class he should enter in, master or standard. My default is almost always standard. If it's your first time there, enter standard. You usually can't go wrong. So he did. He entered it in standard. In the category, and then we also talked about should he enter it in science fiction or scratch build. I said science fiction. I think that was the general consensus. When I talked to my fellow judges afterwards, they also agreed, yeah, this is where it should have been. So our directions for judging were to judge, if you judge a master's in a standard category, you judge the masters first, because all the best ofs are nominated out of the masters categories, not the standard. Even a gold winning piece in standard cannot be nominated for a best scale model, best figure, whatever. So we judged Rise of the Machines, science fiction, master first. It was fast. There was a lot of not master level work in that category, I'm sad to say. So it was pretty easy to pick out what we liked. We took a short break, which is always great. We go to judge the standard one, and Grant displayed his pod in a very, very nice display. It is beautiful with the base and the way it's on a clear rod and it's angled so you get the best view of the piece. Fantastic. And as John can attest, when we judge work of people we know, we stand back and let the other judges do the talking. Let them decide what they want. If I agree with them, I'll say, yes, I agree. If I disagree, I'll say, no, I don't know if I agree with that. And that's how we leave it. I try to be, I'm as impartial as anyone can be, even with my friend's work. As soon as Jose Brito saw the escape pod, he walked over to it, slid it over to the front, and started looking at it. And the first words out of his mouth are, this doesn't belong here. This belongs on the other table with the masters. This is better than anything we looked at over at the masters category. We need to fix this. I was like, we can do that? I didn't know that was a thing we could do. And Roman, the third judge, was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we could do that. And he was like, wow, this is just really, really well done. And I was like, well, there's a little scanny thing here. Let's scan it to see what it shows, because I had not seen it. That was one of the recommendations I gave. If you're going to do a brag book, make it something small so that someone can scan it, not a big gaudy book that takes up a whole piece of the table. So we scan it, we're looking through it, and then Jose Brito was like, holy shit, he scratch built this? And we're like scrolling through all the photos, like, yeah, he used like 6 Tamiya kits to make this thing. This is phenomenal. This is moving. We are moving this. So we ran over and grabbed Ivan and some of the other people, and Jose mostly stated his case for why he wanted to move it and why it needed to be awarded gold and master. So they're like, yeah, we can do that. The only hiccup was we had already finished that category and closed it out, so they had to go in Emperor, open it up, move the piece. And then once we did that, Jose Brito also nominated it for a best of. So it got moved to the table with all the best ofs. So I'm like over here, like, I got to get a picture of this. This is going to be great. So I took a picture of it. And then I got to sit on that information for 14 hours, 15 hours. I sat next to Grant at dinner that night. He doesn't even know that he won a medal, let alone that it got bumped up a class and then awarded a gold and then got nominated for best of. So yeah, I had to sit there and bite my tongue, and I kind of needled him a little bit and was talking about how, I wasn't too impressed with some of the stuff in these categories. I feel like, people need to step up their game a little bit and bring some really good stuff, especially in the masters class. And he's over there like, oh man, that means my probably sucked. Yeah. But if we're talking about the comp, let's Peter, what did you bring for the comp that you almost didn't want to bring, that we had to bully you into bringing, me specifically?
Yeah, I did not want to bring anything. I mean, I was going to bring the Spitfire that I ended up bringing, but only to give it to Scott as a present. Then, kind of last minute, I decided to bring a Tomcat too. I mean, for a couple of weeks I worked on it because that was the closest to being finished, which was originally meant to be a slammer build that got a bit involved, and I had to make a base for it. So the last week before the show was pretty stressful. Yeah, so I ended up bringing a 3-second scale Spitfire and a 48 scale Tomcat.
And we might have been guilty a little bit, nudge, nudge, of pushing him to not only enter, but to enter in Masters. And then what happened, Peter?
Yeah, first I entered both in the standard category, but the guys bullied me to the point where I had to change both to Masters. Yeah, and I kind of placed with both of them.
I kind of placed. A silver and a bronze medal, both in Masters category.
Yeah.
Mr. Low Key over here. No, I mean, and just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen the photos, a 30-second scale, beautiful Spitfire, which is coming in FedEx to me for my collection of friends models. Thank you. And the other one, the Tomcat that he made. When he said he made a base, I mean,
a bespoke carrier base.
Yes, he did not put a piece of wood under this aircraft. I mean, launch mechanisms, everything, and man, he hit it hard. It barely got done in time. It was awesome, really awesome.
Thank you.
And then speaking of aircraft, I see Jitz over there smiling because I know he wants to talk about it, but he doesn't want to talk about it. Don't even front.
No.
Go on.
It's nothing really.
It's your moment. It's your time to shine.
No, like TJ been giving me forever, as everyone will have heard. For me, it was just important to get the things done. That's all I wanted to do. Get them done and get them on the table. I honestly didn't think they'd do well. Especially the one that medaled, I was more confused that actually medaled. I didn't think it'd be that one. But yeah, I got the 4 builds done, got them on the table, nicely displayed, yada yada. And then once judging was done, TJ did his TJ thing when he knows the results and he walks around smugly, holds the sword of Damocles over everyone's heads like, I know what you got. I'm not telling you. Go on, ask me.
I only did that to you though.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to anyone else.
Whereas this year, I didn't want to give you. I was like, I'm not asking. I'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, how long did that last?
An hour. Yeah. So yeah, it medaled, and then come the awards ceremony. He gets the nervous part when he gets to like the category, and it's like, okay, there are the names for the bronze. I'm not on that, so it's going to be a silver. There are the names for the silver. My name's not on that one. I start shaking and not hardly able to stand.
Shaking is a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah, You
look like a leaf on a tree in the middle of a Class 5 hurricane. That's the amount of shaking you were doing.
In my defense, I was threatened loudly by JB. To repeat what he threatened me with, when you go on stage, I'm going to grab your really hard. So that was a nice threat.
Here's a little backstory to those that weren't standing with us at the time. We might have had a few beers while we were waiting for the award ceremony to start, and by few I mean like 6.
Lots, yeah. And then names were called. I managed to get up to the stage. My legs were just not really cooperating. It kind of felt surreal. It was weird. Yeah, it's strange. It's annoying how right TJ is, and I have to say that out loud because he's like, if anyone's going to win, it's going to be the RLM 76 one, and it's like, no, it's not. Red 2's way better. RLM 76 one wins. It's like, okay, I'll trust his judgment in the future. I'll just do what he says. But yeah, I couldn't stop staring at the medal for the next few hours. It was weird. Still doesn't feel real now, but yeah, I'm very, very humbled, very appreciative to have got gold in Master in small scale. So next is 48th and then large scale. Gotta get the trifecta.
Gotta get a triple crown.
Oh yeah. Now that's braggy.
Now, can I say something as I finally get back, as my computer crashed and everything like that, about about TJ and his things he said? Well, at dinner, I was looking at my messages and he's still talking about how there's nothing in Masters category that is very good. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't up to snuff, I guess. So I'm thinking, oh, okay. I think I'm in standard the whole time for my pod, and I'm happy. And I hate to backstory this on you, Jensen. I'm sorry. So the next morning, I'm waiting I want to go see if I got anything. So I go to my figures first because I've been painting figures for a while. I think I got not a chance. The standard stuff and figures is is unbelievable. And I'm okay. So I'm going to walk over to where my pod's at, and I'm thinking, okay, I think I've got a chance at least. I hope I can get a commendable. Can't find it. It's not in the category. So JB's walking around. I said, hey, JB, have you seen my stuff? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, my pod's gone. And he's like, no, I'm going to be the first to tell you this. And I'm like, uh-oh. I figured I got disqualified for something and got pulled off the table. No, he's like, you got to move to Masters. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. TJ wrote that there were in that category. And I remember TJ just kind of probing all night at the restaurant. and I'm like, oh, you and I'm like, okay, well, I whatever. So I kind of find it, and I find a medal on it. I find that I want a medal. And I'm like, I'm going to hurt this guy. I swear to God, I'm going to hurt this guy. And Scott's laughing, JB's laughing, TJ's laughing. They've all been filled in by now. And I'm just out in the weeds. And I was for a few minutes, I don't know what to do. And I just want to thank TJ for that, because it helped me center myself a lot. And that was fun.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
That's when we talk about SMC celebrating the hobby and celebrating the modeler and wanting to do best for the people that attend. That's what it is. I mean, I can't remember who mentioned it, but someone was like, yeah, Grant has the best SMC story. That's like peak SMC. Like, that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's not like some other show where some guy, some random ass judge would be like, well, I don't want to move this into a different category. That's where my piece, that's where my piece is. It might beat my piece, like that kind of crap. Yeah. Like, that just doesn't happen there. Yeah. And the fact that it happened to a close friend of mine, and I got to be a part of it, and it just be clear. Hopefully it people don't think that this is like, oh, I did this because Grant's my friend. I did not have anything to do with this. I followed along with my other two judges had to say, and I just happened to agree with them. I wasn't going to argue with them because they were 100% right. It was the best piece in the category by far. And to be clear, there were good pieces in both standard and master. I was kind of egging Grant on a little bit, privately, but yeah. It was cool. It was absolutely awesome, and I was happy that happened because I got to be a part of it. It wasn't even. I was more happy about that than me winning a medal, because that was it. That was the story of the trip in my eyes.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was, and then you sent me the picture of it being on the table with the other ones, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, it was quite a roller coaster there during the awards ceremony. I think it was a lot of fun. I think the picture that sums up what SMC is the zoomed in picture of Scott when he's on stage, and he's got, I can't even describe the look because it's just pure adulation, and that's what it's all about. That was Scott. He was in the zone, people.
Yeah, I was next to Doc.
Yep.
And we weren't even sure until literally like during this trip that Doc was going to be with us. He's had a tough year, and it was pretty awesome being up there with Doc and being with you guys, and it was amazing.
That's what it's all about. I mean, that's SMC. That's God, we didn't even talk about the vendors, for crying out loud. Spent so much money there. Oh gosh. Jackson, what's the most favorite thing you bought there?
Oh, all right. So I stumbled across this by accident with Jensen, and we rallied the troops afterwards. We were like, look what we found. But essentially the way the SMC vendor hall is set up loosely, you've got kind of all your figure and paint vendors kind of in one hall, and then in your other hall you've got a lot of your aftermarket and kind of ordnance-based stuff. There's a bit of crossover. But in the area that used to be mostly clubs, which is kind of like an extension to that figure vendor hall, that was expanded this year to include more figures. And you kind of have to go, it's almost like, not like an archway, but like you almost have to go through like a wall essentially to get to it. So it's kind of tucked away. And I knew that most of it was figures looking from the outside in, so I didn't really go over there at all. But then on the second day, Jensen and I were walking around, had seen everything, spent all our money, And we were just like, let's just do a lap of everything. So we went over there. I think we were trying to find Jensen's D&D dice, but we end up over in the corner of that room, and I see this giant banner for Rolls-Royce armored car. I don't know why, but that subject is just like one of my like most niche but like strongest like I love that thing. Like it's such a cool looking vehicle to me. I love the history behind it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, like let's go. And I went over there. It was a vendor called Peaks Models. And essentially, he just started. He has like almost no social media presence that I could find. Like he has an Instagram page, but it's tiny. He has like 3 posts on it. But he basically went and 3D printed a kit of a 1914 pattern Rolls-Royce armored car. And this thing has everything. I mean, it like all of the panels are removable or posable. You can take all like the subcomponents off. There's options for like the wheels where you can have it chained or not chained. It comes with spare wheels. It comes with a full workshop worth of accessories to put around it. The engine is fully detailed, full interior. I mean, it literally had everything. It was kind of a hefty price tag, especially in the second day of the show. It was about, I think, 125 euros. But to me, like buying that, it's everything you need. You don't need any aftermarket. Like you don't even need diorama accessories because it has them. So it just blew my mind. The quality of the print's phenomenal. The amount of research that went into designing it, and even like just the supports and everything look great. Like I'm really excited to build that. And this might be a good segue over to TJ because I know he bought their other kit. So I'll hand it over to you, TJ, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned earlier when we were in Brussels, where we saw all those artillery pieces. I have a thing for the Krupp 21 centimeter Morser. They call it, Germans call it a Morser. It was a howitzer. The 21 centimeters is a big, and TACOM has a kit of it. It's like one of the first armor, quote unquote, pieces I ever did. So I have a soft spot for it. And if anyone's played Battlefield 1, it's the gun that's in like, they're all over the place. They're like used as set pieces. They're not the ones that you can shoot in the game, but you'll see them in the any of the German maps. They'll be like scattered all around as, scenery. And in the Brussels Museum, they have one in travel configuration on its carriage. Super cool. So when Jackson bought that kit, he's like, hey, they do a gun too. I'm like, I got to go check this out. So I walked over there and looked at it. And it's essentially a better version of the TACOM kit with the travel carriage. So I'm like, this is friggin' sweet. So I bought it. Also, a hefty price tag. And I was like, whatever. It's super cool. I looked at the pieces. It's so well printed. And then later on, I was telling Dan Sankey about it. And Dan is, a very good friend of mine and also a World War One connoisseur. He's done lots of World War One pieces. He's like, oh, well, there's a tractor that pulled these. I'm like, yeah. He's like, there's a vendor here that has one. It's expensive. I'm like, what do you mean expensive? He's like, I don't know. It's pretty expensive. I'm like, whatever. I'm on vacation. I don't care. So I'm like, show me what this tractor is. So we walked over there and checked it out. And yeah, so I bought a big German tractor to tow this. And that also was expensive. I think it was like $155. Yeah, so I got like $300 in 2 World War One kits, both 3D printed, both made out of 1 million pieces. So yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah, well, I don't think you spent the most out of all of us. We'll go over to Jensen, who decided to buy all the things RT. So Jensen, just walk us through your madness.
So yeah, I did put a big RT order in because I wish a lot more vendors did this. They did the pre-order where you could pre-order it and then pay at the show. I can kind of understand why vendors won't do that because what if someone just doesn't turn up or decides they don't want it? They brought it to the show and yada yada. But yeah, I put a big pre-order in for RT stuff, and I bought the watermill that famously Night Shift did, and was actually at the show on the Dynamo stand. That was amazing to see in person, which if I didn't buy it beforehand, I would have bought it after seeing that. So I got the watermill from RT. I got the old city fountain. I got the large wayside cross, the small wayside cross, saint statue, bamboo sets because I intend on doing a Sherman in Pacific Theatre with bamboo on the scene. I really want to do that. I know I was annoying Jackson a bit by saying, but what can I actually do? Like, if it's not an Iwo Jima Sherman, what island has bamboo? It's like none of them. It's like, okay. And I bought an Asuka Sherman, bought the wrong one. I bought Caesar. I needed Cougar, so I went back and swapped it, got Cougar, which I am reliably informed by Jackson I can do in PTO. But what was the you said it really interesting unit or regiment that used these Shermans?
4th Battalion C Company. They were the ones on Iwo Jima that did a lot of the cool modifications you see online. And that's kind of what everyone's image of a Pacific Sherman. C Company of 4th Battalion did it, and they're the reasons we have that image.
Yeah, so I want to do one of them because as much as I love olive drab and Shermans in European theatre and such, the Pacific theatre Shermans just look really, really cool. I got more of the camo foliage, both sets, because I already have 3 sets. What's 2 more going to hurt? They just look really nice, and having seen Jackson use it on his Sherman that he took with him to the show made me want to buy even more of them because it's like, okay, that's really good. I bought some Edward aftermarket for a kit I don't even own, which I now own because I bought it after buying the aftermarket because that's a sensible thing to do. A few of us cleared out Annie's precision tweezers. They are really good. And they were €13 each, and they are so precise. So I think Scott went and got them, then I got them, then Josh got them, then they were all gone, and then luckily they were stacking back up, like restock, so that's good. Jackson kindly took me to HD Model to spend more money, aftermarket for the Pacific Sherman I need. And it wouldn't be me mentioning SMC without me mentioning Zaba Art, because I have to every single year. He's got a new figure holding paint stand. It's really nice. It's FDM printed, but it's like you can only tell up close. It's like there's a good weight to it, and it fits in the hand really nicely. So that's really nicely designed. And I got 3 of these figures. I got Hunty, the classic like little mushroom man with the pink helmet. I got Gunko and Ronko, like 2 tortoises. One's like a mortar and one's riding him. And some I can't see the name on the box, but he's like a big bull-faced pigman, very muscly. Quite a big piece. It's only a bust because he only had one of the full figures at the show, and it was reserved. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, at the show, I bought something online to be delivered to my house because there was no way I was getting a Hong Kong models kit home from Europe. So I just bought one when I was home. But yeah, I did pretty well, as I always do at these shows, even though I'm not going to buy much this year.
I think as far as kits go, I think Peter was the big winner.
Oh, absolutely.
Peter, what did you buy at the show?
I tried to keep things sane. So I only got the 72nd Casa T295 transport plane and a little SBS models 72nd Sky Racer. But then I saw that MBK had the large 251s on sale. So I grabbed the huge box of 251 pack wagon, and I had to quickly transport that to my car because everyone at the show was staring at me as I was walking away with that huge box.
That's because Peter was walking down the hallways, and this kit takes both of your arms. He's got it grasped tightly to his chest, and he's grinning like a kid at Christmas on Christmas morning, lugging this 1/16 scale pack wagon around. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, the vendors were amazing. I mean, largest vendor room I've ever seen. I mean, it's hard to put it into perspective, but sort of like take a couple of IPMS nationals and throw in an AMPS national and a couple other shows, and I mean, just a vendor area that I got lost in repeatedly, and just about everything you wanted. TJ knew I was kind of interested in some of those. Michael Contreras does some Iron Maiden Eddie Bus from like the Iron Maiden album covers, and he and I both went and got one of those, and that was really, really cool. I got mine is based on the Trooper, Eddie the Trooper, with the British uniform and the big saber, and that was really, really cool. And TJ, which one did you get?
I got the Eddie from the cover of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I had a hard time picking which one I wanted. Like I told Kevin Kelly when he was like, "Man, that's really cool." I went with that one because that was the first Maiden album that I ever bought, and I love it. It gets a lot of crap because it's got synthesizers in it, but you know what? That album slaps. And Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is a sweet ass song. And it also has Only the Good Die Young, which is one of my favorite Maiden songs. So.
Yeah, it's a good, really, really good choice. And JB, what did you come home with?
I bought a bunch of random stuff, but certainly spent money at Arto, best figures around. That was a really great display. I bought some 3D printed figures. I bought the new quick gen / third gen Calvin Tan flesh painting set, which, by the way, Calvin Tan's the coolest dude in the world, like super nice, and he's awesome. Willing to talk with you. It was just great. I mean, it's meeting a hero. The first time I met him in person, he was just amazing. And then VG Diorama, obviously, we spent some money there. Got a cool factory scene and a base that I already have built up. And then I saw Oliver Spaeth, which is a guy I really like his stuff. He's a fantasy figure painter. He does a lot of CAD as well, or I guess you could say 3D art that I've bought, and picked up some of the stuff from his company or his brand, Honor Guard Miniatures. I just really cool, unique things from him. He's big into like Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings series, fantasy stuff, and he just does wonderful landscapes. So it was really cool to meet him and pick up a few pieces from his table. But yeah, it was just overwhelming in the vendor room. It was I felt like every time I'd want to go see something, I'd get lost. And I got to shout out Martin Welberg as well. That is some of the best damn terrain, static grass / bushes that you can buy. I mean, I spent some good money there too. So, and I was really happy to get the Citroen truck / van thing, the panel van. Those sold out on day one, and I was super stoked to pick one up on day one because they're just really freaking cool. So, but yeah, it was awesome. It was great. But with that, Scott, maybe we're getting a little long here, but I think well worth it. Maybe to wrap this up, one of the last topics we can talk about before closing thoughts, I guess, is what was a piece in the exhibition hall that stood out to you that you want to highlight as your favorite? I'll start off first to buy people time because there was over 3,000 pieces, all of which were well deserving of recognition. The piece that stuck out to me, and I'll not only talk about the piece, but the moment I had with the piece, there was a gentleman. I believe I've seen his work a couple times online, obviously, Facebook he posts, but he brought 3 pieces. All of them were in the SS kind of, oak leaf / camouflage pattern. But I think what stood out to me, and one of them that stood out the most, was I think it was a Young Miniatures bust, and it was the SS guy holding, I think, a car. He had a scarf. But what stood out to me is all of his pieces, he did pointillism on them, and oh my Lanta, like just the freaking amount of work he put into the camouflage pattern on the smock, the facial features, the OSL, the scarf itself, the helmet. Like, it was absolutely unbelievable. And it's not only my favorite piece from the show, but like I got to appreciate it and hear Calvin Tan and Marion Van Giels talk about it. And it's like, I'm just happy to be a fly on the wall for this conversation. And those are the types of things you experience in the SMC hall where, you have the peak of peak at their game, recognizing game. And then I'm just like, hey, I'm just happy to be here kind of thing. And I'm listening to them talk about it. And I met the artist that was there, and I'm calling him an artist because it was art. It was just unbelievable to experience that Sunday morning before the main hall opened. We were just gathered around. And again, I'm the fly on the wall enjoying these pieces and listening to the artists talk about how they achieved it. So that was so cool. So with that, I'll go over to Scott. He's going to talk about what stood out to him in the exhibition hall.
Yeah, again, just so many pieces that made an impression. But I think the one I'm going to talk about is there was a diorama called Plague, and it just really, really spoke to me. I mean, the way it was painted and presented, it was almost kind of like the perspective of like a Diagon Alley from Harry Potter, but it was during the Black Death, and a lot of painting in gray tones and conveying of emotion through color. And I really liked it. I know that was something that a lot of people saw, and I know other people are going to have pieces to talk about. I mean, we could, talk about a lot of pieces, but that's one that really, I noticed kind of right off the bat and really made an impact on me. Just a beautiful diorama.
I'm going to go with Peter Rusher's Red Tide. It was a PZ4 going across the front of a building. Routine diorama, but the way the vehicle was painted and built. There's the new Tamiya motorcycle sidecar with the rider in it, officer standing and that talking. And it's just a great piece. It was, I believe it won him a gold in Masters diorama, but it was, that was, for me, that was just the painting of the PZ4 and the Commander that were just unbelievable.
Hell yeah. That was a great piece. Had the cool feel to it.
Yeah, it did. It really had the building, the shingles coming off the top of the roof. It was just a great build. It was a really good build.
For sure.
Yep.
Let's go over to Jackson. What stood out to you?
All right, there's one that I do want to call out, but I feel like it's going to get talked about, so I'm going to call out the other one that I picked. Actually, I'll pick out two. I'm sorry, I'm copping out. There's just so many good pieces. So in the storytelling category, there was a piece, I didn't catch the title, but it was essentially some Italian troops in 1914 lifting a 75 howitzer up to a new firing position in like these snowy cliffs. It's just an interesting subject to me. I love World War One stuff, especially early war stuff, and it had like really nice verticality and composition to it. And then in ordnance, or I guess in single vehicle, there was someone who did a really good representation of the Flamenco Beach, one of the Sherman wrecks. He did a really good job nailing the graffiti on it and the rust effects. He had little crabs on the beach that looked awesome. Unfortunately, it was kind of in the back on one of the pedestals, so it's kind of hard to get like a good 360 kind of look at it. But that piece stuck out to me because it's so bright and colorful and different. But yeah, I'd say those two were my top.
Yeah, the Sherman Beach was awesome. I had never seen one done in person before, but like you said, I'd walked past it and we went back and you called out like check out the crabs, check out the sea lichen and whatnot, and just really well done piece. Peter, what was yours? What made Peter go, damn, that's good?
Yeah, something that jumped out to me was like a little vignette of a group of SS soldiers in the entrance of an old building, just like a pavilion. It was a bit overgrown with dirty windows. I think it was really nice. The building was the centerpiece of the vignette that I really liked. The figures were quite good as well. I really liked that one.
I think I remember it. It was the very Parisian looking building, I feel. And it had the soldiers on the outside with some vines. That was really, really well done.
Yes, we were discussing something in the entrance.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
TJ, what stuck out to you?
So I'm going to pick two things. One was a comp entry, and it was a series of 4 figures of like Old West guys. I don't know who did it. It was, I think one of them was Gunslinger, Looking for Youth. That was like an old cowboy holding a phonograph. I can't remember. I'm trying to find the picture. I can't remember the other two were called, but damn, they were so good. Oh, there it is. Tombstone 1881, Longing for Youth, The Shootist, and Gunslinger. Gunslinger, I'm pretty sure is Wild Bill. That's what it looks like. It's just good, and each figure has a piece of a building behind it that's all been painted, and it's just exquisite. And that's a genre you don't really see painted a whole lot, like that era of American West, which is a kind of a shame because it's so cool. But yeah, I just thought they were so good. And the 4 as a piece together, I mean, they're all separate entries, but the 4 of them together displayed was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, God, I loved it. And then the other piece, it was in the judge's cabinet. It was Fabio Sacchi's M4A1 76 Duke with Calvin Tan figures on it. So damn good. JB, I think you got a picture of it without the glass, with the case open. But man, I'd watched him build that, on Facebook, and getting to see it in person was pretty sweet. It's so damn good.
Yeah, that was friggin' awesome. I did get lucky. Someone was taking their stuff out of the case, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to slide my phone in here real quick and take a photo. I'll be that awkward American. I'm totally fine with it because those pieces were awesome. And Fabio's just such a nice guy, too. Super approachable. We'll go back to Jensen.
So this has actually been discussed quite a bit on Facebook today, and I really like it for a couple of reasons. It has to be viewed from 2 angles. It's round trip. You see it from the front, and it's a German green rail cart, and in the cart you can see German soldiers, and they look excited and inspired to go to war. It looks like it's kind of not early in the war, but like they're all full of hope and inspiration and fighting for the fatherland and all that stuff. But then you spin the diorama around and you look on the reverse side of it, the carts open and you're seeing the end result of what they've faced. The soldiers are battered, bruised, dying, destroyed, souls are broken. So it's definitely one of those scenes that you have to see from multiple sides. It's a great scene on its own just from one side, but you really have to take both sides, and it's like, oh, there's the story now. Like, yeah, it's been discussed, like, but yeah, it has to be appreciated from every angle to be like, there it is. And it's really, really, it's weird when you look at it. It's a bit like, it's a somber moment. It's like, oh yeah, that's the reality of war. Is really grim. And that got gold in storytelling, and rightfully so. And it's just a really nice piece. And it's, I don't want to say it's minimalist, but it's not. But it's a train car with soldiers in it on a really nice display base, nice bit of scenery. But there's so much story to take in, and I really like that piece.
So
Yeah.
can I jump in here real quick again? Ask me why I didn't choose Doodle Dud by Dan Sankey. I mean, yeah, like thank you for not necessarily reminding me, but for bringing that up. I freaking love that piece. I freaking love Dan. Dan is awesome, and we were talking about it afterwards. I think yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Like, that's the level of creativity that I wish that I had. Like, Dan's a really good modeler, but he's also extremely creative. And Doodle Dud is a Crash V1 rocket, a doodlebug, as they were called in England. It's crashed, it didn't blow up, and it's like upturned, and there's a bunch of pigeons on a horizontal stab on the back, and he sculpted a little kid with a slingshot gonna like hit one of the birds, and it's so cool. You're right. I should have mentioned it. I don't know why I didn't. And I wish I had that level of creativity. My joke was when I was rolling for my stats as a scale modeler, I put too many into like technical expertise and not enough into creativity. And I wish I could re-roll and fix that, but it's too late, I think.
I have to give a shout out to this because it's not been mentioned. Kev Smith's M10.
Oh,
yeah.
Like,
best ordnance piece.
Yeah.
Best armor piece.
Hands down.
Stupidly good.
I told Kev that when we were there. I've mentioned it since then. And of course, no offense to Spud and his M113. Fantastic piece. Absolutely loved it. I liked it better in person than I did in the photos. And I thought the photos were really good. Mainly it's because the M113 just doesn't speak to me like a lot of other pieces do. But wonderfully executed model. Also deserving of a gold medal. But yeah, Kev's M10 should have been a gold medal right up there with him.
No doubt.
When I walked back to see what was on the best of table to vote on, and I did not see that M10, I took a step back.
Yeah, that M10 was arguably the best armor piece there, hands down. Well,
it looked real.
It was real. Yeah,
like,
it was real. The Kilroy written on the side. I mean,
you take a picture of that without anything behind it and show it to someone. They'd be like, "That's a real tank, right? That's a real thing that just drove over all this grass." No, it is a model, and it is exquisite.
Yeah, his dust patina, the best in the business, and the textures on the counterweights in the back, and I think he redid all the welds on the bolts, the bolt mounts on the hull. The stowage, the sandbags, the interior placards, like soup to nuts, the best piece there in that category. It was, and what was cool is it was on the end, and it was like there was a spotlight right over it. So when you took a picture of it, it just popped. And in all seriousness, Kev, that was amazing. Super stoked to see it in person. I'm a little biased because he let me take home his Yog Tiger. So I have a Kev Smith original at my house, and it will definitely be shared at shows. But yeah, the M10 is that's peak scale modeling right there. Yeah. Peak, absolute peak armor modeling. But yeah, hell of a show. I know we've forgotten people. I know we've forgotten models, but I posted around 1,000 pictures on Facebook. So if you care to take a gander, you can see what the level of competition was there and just the level of work, because it was outstanding. We'll wrap up this show segment. I'll turn it over to Scott. It's kind of ironic. We're going to talk about a bar. Scott doesn't drink, but he was an enabler there. Wouldn't let me go to sleep the last day, and I applaud him for making me stay because it was awesome. And we got Jensen's ass out of bed too. So, Scott, take us away with one of the most unique aspects of the show and what really makes it the show that it is. So over to you to kind of close out this SMC special.
Yeah, I had posted in the group that as good as the museums were and seeing the historical places and the beauty of Europe, that for me, what really stood out on this trip was the people. And just kind of wanted to give some quick shout outs. And like everybody said, there's going to be some people that we forget. I do apologize. But I mean, guys that were kind of in and out of our group: Josh Buck, John Everett, Brandon Mickelson, Eric Kane, Martin Drayton. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody. And then, of course, Peter and Stefan for driving and coming to hang out with a bunch of crazy Americans. I mean, you guys just fit right in. And, thanks for everything. Nick Wolf also, forgot to mention Nick. And then, of course, Mikkel and Jeff, who were part of our group as
Amps
well.
Master Jeff.
Yeah, Amps Master Jeff. Amazing guys. Mikkel literally saved my life multiple times when we were in crowded subways because he's a very, very tall person. So we could just kind of orient on Mikkel as our point, right? Jake McKee, again, these guys that filled out our group, really, really appreciated having them with us. And then other people that we met at the show. Bruce Worrell, said hi to him. It was good to see him. Andrea Rodriguez, who we've had on the show. JB grabbed me. She had come through the room. I'd been looking for her. It was great to shake her hand and meet her. Marin Van Gils, met him in the bar. As JB said, I don't drink, but I close the bar down every night because this whole weekend just flew by. And I wanted to maximize every single second. Meeting Marin was a thrill, obviously. I want to thank again Robert and Margot. They were amazing. They spent a lot of time making sure that we were comfortable, making sure that people were having a good experience. That last night in the bar, they came and Robert spent an hour with us, and it was great. Really kind of picked our brains for feedback and knew about my show and spoke about that. And just, his vision was pretty awesome. He's really passionate about what he does, and obviously he succeeded. Bart, it was massive to get to know him, and he helped us with our registration a little bit. The guys running the show, Ivan and Martin, and the guys I got to observe judging, and they could not have been nicer. Really allowed me to kind of see what happened. And how it happened, and that was really, really great. Alex Clark, Chris Meddings, Clay Knockerby, and Stuart from Black Hat Scale Models. Those guys came from Australia. We got to meet them there. Therese from Norway, David Hobbs, good to see you again, man. Marcus Erickson, man, that guy was so cool. Really, really cool, a talented guy. And then, Martin and Marco and their group, the Dutch guys, they could not have been nicer. We can't wait to see you guys again. They gave us that gift, and they were just amazing. And then, of course, the Four Corners guys, Pete, Dan, Kev, Ian, Spud, Andy. Those guys, they are amazing. Would have been worth going to SMC just to see their table alone. But as good a modelers as they all are, and they are amazing, they're the best. They're even better humans. It was awesome getting to hang out with them every night in the bar. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys. But, I know I've forgotten people, but man, what an amazing, trip and an amazing weekend at the show. I'll never forget it. Just amazing people. And like the guys have already said, nobody is too good to stop and take some time with you. It was awesome. Anyway, that's what I'm going to say. What about you guys?
Yeah, my closing thoughts very much aligned with yours, Scott. I mean, it's a show that's something special, and the Abbey Bar captures that essence at the end of every day, because during the show day, you have zero time to catch up with people. I mean, yes, you're bumping into people, but you're truly just bumping into them because there's the exhibition to see, there's seminars going on, there's people doing seminars at booths, there's traders, there's just literally everything that's happening at the show. And the Abbey Bar is that special place at the end of the evening where everything slows down a little bit. You get to be a little bit more personal, and even then there's just not enough time because there's just countless people you want to say hi to. I'll give a shout out to Tracy Hancock. I saw him for 5 minutes at the end of the second day. Gave me an Abbey Bar pin, which I felt really that was really nice, and I really really appreciated that. I didn't even see David Parker. Wish I had a chance to say hi to him. You mentioned Bruce Worrell. I saw him the first day, I think, for lunch, and then he disappeared. I never saw him again. Chris Mettings as well. Briefly saw him, I think, during the end of Grant's class, and then at the end of the second day. It was just there was no time, and these people came in and out because there's so many other people to see. But I do want to give a special shout out to Martin and Marco, and then also the other Dutch folks. Just unbelievable hospitality. Also, Martin Vischer from the show. He was kind enough to gift me his BT7, which I have here as well, which will make the rounds in the United States and get shown off. So just unbelievable. Circle back to Bart. But yeah, just echoing what you said, Scott, tons of people, too many to mention. We've tried to hit them all. Certainly everybody in the Four Corners. I will underline Four Corners, I think 9 times for all the folks that are part of it, and just make that wholesome show even that much more better. So my final thoughts are, if you have considered going to SMC, go. Scott and Grant are clear examples, and Peter as well, that if you go, you will have fun. You will remember it for the rest of your life and meet people that you will not meet anywhere else. So if you're thinking about 26, definitely go. You can meet us there on Friday. That's the game plan. So we will see everybody there on Friday this time, and we can't wait. So with that, I'll kick it over to Jensen for final thoughts.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I said on Facebook. If you haven't gone, go. And if you have been, you're already planning for next year. It is the greatest show ever. The competition, the vendors, the people who attend, the location, the venue, just everything about it is just, I don't say perfect a lot, but it's pretty damn perfect. The staff behind the show, again, like Robert, Margot, all the volunteers who help the show, it's run so smoothly. There's just not issues. You don't hear of drama of SMC. It's just so good. Everyone's so warm and welcoming, so friendly. Having the on-site bar, where the evening hub of action is, that's great. It's intimate, but everyone still manages to get in. And my favorite line from every evening's activity though was Jackson with "Where's your drink?" So that was fun. Yeah, it's just great. Like, again, if you haven't gone, you've got to go. Like, you really do. You have to experience it yourself. Like the guy saying we undersold it. Evidently we did, because it's better than we can ever say. So you just have to experience it yourself.
I'll go to TJ next.
Yeah, I mean, it's my third SMC in as many years, and it gets better and better every time. Just the opportunity to do what we do and see the things that we see and have the fun that we have. It's it's nothing. It's like nothing else. And the show, of course, is phenomenal. I truly believe that, I hype it up an adequate amount, and I might even undersell it. I don't know. It's the show's just damn good, and this year was extra special to me because I got to do it with Scott, and I've made no qualms about it. Scott is the reason why I am the modeler I am today. Just through his inspiration and his friendship, but because he reached out to me 5 years ago and asked me if I wanted to do a podcast. And if he hadn't have done that, I would still be sitting in this basement that I'm in now, building, halfway decent, mediocre models and posting on Facebook and getting on with my life. And because he did what he did, I got to meet all these amazing modelers that made me a better modeler. And then I got to travel the world with them, which is not anything I would have ever imagined would have happened 5 years ago when Scott and I first had our phone call, our conversation over the phone. So yeah, my third SMC was super special, on top of just being the best show in the world. Yeah. So if you are on the fence and want to go, man, just go. Please go. Do yourself a favor and go and have a good time. So yeah, like I said on my Facebook post, cheers to SMC 2025, and I'll see you all at SMC 2026.
Great words. Over to you, Jackson.
I think I've said this about like every time we've done an SMC recap, but if you can only make a weekend out of it, just do it. It's what TJ and I did the first time we went, and you don't need to do some big extravagant trip around Europe like we did this year. You can go for just the show, and it's worth it, and it's affordable. It really is. If you're worried about being like welcome there, like I think we've touched on it a lot this episode. I mean, everyone there wants us to be there. Like, I think the first year we went, I don't remember who said it, but they were like, bring more Americans. And so this year we showed up with like 20, right? So you're going to be surrounded by people that, regardless if you've met in person or not, are your friends. They'll welcome you there. No one is sitting on a throne or anything looking down at you like, oh, you shouldn't be here. Like, everyone's accepted there. Everyone has a great time. You'll be surrounded by people who, you might have just met but care about you. And it's just an environment unlike any other model show I've ever been to. So if you have, I mean, $1,000 sitting aside, like you could make it work and just do it. You won't regret it.
100%. Peter, tell us your closing thoughts.
Yeah, so meeting you guys and the rest of the crew was definitely the highlight of this trip. I have to say that I enjoyed our Belgium trip more than the show itself, but the show was still awesome. But even if there was no show or no models or no vendors, just hanging out with you guys would have been an awesome weekend. So yeah, if anyone is on the fence about going and meeting people in the Abbey, just do it.
Hell yeah, Peter. And to close us out, Grant, your thoughts. First timer.
Yeah, it's you have to go. You have to go. October 17th and 18th, 2026. Flight on it now. Get there on the 16th, leave on the 19th, on the Monday. You will have a great time. You will meet 1,000 people. You will see unbelievable figures, painters, models, everything you could ever want. You'll see some crazy Americans. You'll see even crazier Brits. You'll see out of this world people from the Netherlands. It's just go. I'm already planning on it. I know everybody on this call is already planning on it. Just go.
All right, listeners, you heard it. I think that'll do it. We've had a long session here. Really appreciate you sticking around, and thanks to all the co-hosts for showing up. So with that, plan on SMC 2026. We will see you there. Until then, have fun and build more models.
Before we kind of wrap things up, I just wanted to handle a little bit of business. So in our last episode, 125, we had a segment where I kind of had a little bit of a rant talking about a recent issue at a show at PatCon where models had been picked up. And if you haven't heard that, you want to go back to that last episode, you can do that. But got a really thoughtful response from George Lelios and Bill Michaels, who are the president and the vice president of IPMS Patriot chapter that put on PatCon. And I just was really impressed with it. I wanted to read it just really quick, just read it verbatim. And because I thought their response was really terrific. So here goes. Gentlemen, good afternoon. I wanted to thank you for your episode 125 segment regarding judges picking up models. Having spent the last few weeks listening to and reading a wide variety of responses to what happened at our show, I appreciated your response to the issue. You were disappointed not only personally, but for the scale modeling community. That resonated with me, as I too believe we did indeed disappoint a sizable number of the competitive scale modelers out there. We can argue the great or bad, but from my vantage point, the disappointment was not that the judges did something wrong per se, but that our rules allowed enough latitude that they could do as they deemed appropriate. They became the scapegoats for the shortcomings in our guidelines, ones that in a post-San Marcos environment should have been better vetted. While many have taken the opportunity to cast some pretty big stones at us, others like yourselves have framed it in a way of do better, an approach that I agree with. To that effect, the officers of the club and I have had numerous discussions over the last several weeks with our regional coordinator, other Region 1 chapter leaders, show attendees, a few online commentators, and I've also met a few times with a gentleman whose model was pictured in the photo. We've attended several regional shows, IPMS affiliated and not, to hear their guidelines during their judges' meetings and to see how models are handled during judging. All who contributed were respectful and informative. We will soon be meeting to craft revised rules that are sensible to how models can and should be handled at PatCon, with details of do's and don'ts. Though I wouldn't recommend another club going through this situation, we're a strong organization made up of great modelers and, more importantly, awesome people. PatCon has been wildly successful as judged by our growth over the last few years, and again, more importantly, from the positive comments during and after the show by the people who attended. We're going to take this unfortunate experience and improve PatCon for an even better 2026. Count on it. Maybe we'll see you there and you could judge for yourselves. Read that as I'm personally inviting you to come on down. Best regards, George. So anyway, kudos to PatCon for taking action. And, I think as a community, expecting more from ourselves across the board. I just wanted to kind of read that before we ended up our discussions today. So also, if anybody's interested, we want to, like we always do, thank our sponsors and thank our Patreon supporters. There'll be some additional content from SMC that you can get if you're one of our Patreon supporters. So look for that in the coming weeks. And I think if that's everything, I think we'll wrap it up and see everybody in a couple of weeks.